Yes, I know you're asking yourselves, what does the thing need with a starship? But what does God need with a starship? What does anyone need with a starship? I know what I need with a starship, and I'm going to have one day. Probably not. Welcome everyone to Clobberin Times, issue number 700, and I forgot what it is. Oh, yeah, 771. So 71 YouTubers and 771 Clobberins in all. And I want to thank, I don't know what's wrong with my numbers. I guess it's just StreamYard is being kind of funny on me here, folks. But I'm going to go ahead and make sure I got this. No, okay, it's working now. All right, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Before I welcome our wonderful friends in the chat, I've got to welcome the greatest first officer in all of Starfleet.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much. What a wonderful, warm welcome. Thank you so much.
She is the best, folks. She's amazing from hell's heart. She spits sexy for hate's sake. Oh, that's a different Raquel. That's their universe one. Sorry.
Hail to the chat. It is so nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming by tonight to join us and in this celebration of Star Trek 66 to 05. The amazing Felicianos are here tonight, and Scuba Pete, Parrot Head, this is great, you guys. Everyone, hail, the gang's all here. So as you come pouring in, we'll be sure to welcome you.
Thank you so much, my dear friends, for being here tonight. Let's see. We, of course, early, I don't know if he's still there, but the great Lord Thoth. Hey, buddy. Avon Live.
Yeah. Lord Thoth is here. Mark C.
We have, yes, Lord Thoth. Of course, I always have to give him his proper I have to give him his proper welcoming. Avon lives, and long live the Legion, buddy. Yes, Mark C. At least he was here. Mark
Ace C. is here as well.
My great friend Ace Cast Iron, one of my greatest old buddies ever, and also one who would love to hear "Long Live the Legion." Because yes, Lord Thoth, another Legionnaire fan. You didn't think? Well, yeah, he's a Legion of Superheroes fan, and so is my good buddy R.N. Feliciano.
Yeah, Smart Steve just walked in. Steve Mitchum just walked in, and the great Eric K, the mighty wrench Eric K, just walked in the room. Good evening.
Let's not forget the lovely and wonderful Sandra Feliciano as well. The Feliciano duo is here tonight.
Yes.
Steve Mitchum, yo, brother. Always glad to see you here, my friend Eric K, master of wrenching extraordinaire, Mark with the C. So once again, we are faced with that strange dilemma we have here in Clobberin Times: Mark C or Mark with the C. But I like them both. You can pick one or the other, but I like them both. And again, and you know, there's Steve Mitchum, and then there's Smart Steve 68. Again, another problem. Which one is truly Which one is truly the Stevest of the both?
Mm-hmm. Who is the Steviest of all the Stevish Steves?
Yes, who is the Stevest? Parrot Head. Sorry to miss you there, brother. Oh, and Scuba Pete. And I'm just making sure I didn't miss anyone. Of course, I always end up missing someone at the end when I'm trying to say the goodbyes, and I forget someone here and there. And Fat Steven's here. Oh, I don't see Fat Steven.
No, I just think that he's including him in the Steviest Steve of all the Stevishness.
Yes, well, Fat Steven was here with me Monday night, being him.
And Stephen Walton, yes, Parrot Head. The great Stephen Walton, the fandom menace historian.
Indeed, I am a fan. He doesn't know me, but I know him. He's a great dude, and he's good friends with Raquel there. The great, magnificent Chris Persia is here with us.
Oh, Chris, welcome.
Another master of wrenches. We've got wrenches. We've got the great wrench of the West in Eric K, and we've got that great Canadian wrench, Chris Persia. And hopefully other wonderful pals will trickle in. As they do, we will definitely greet them. Well, here we are, folks. Week 4 of our continuing mission to explore strange old Star Trek episodes and such. And we have 4 of them for you tonight. Star Trek: The Original Series. As we always start this out, this is about real Star Trek, folks. We're going to be looking at every single solitary episode or film of real Star Trek, 1966 to 2005. To quote Billy Mumy from the Twilight Zone, that's all the Star Trek there is. Well, paraphrase him. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you're the wordsmith. Me, I can barely got out of kindergarten. I can't speak. You know that.
You're quite eloquent. I don't think you have any problems as an orator.
Orator. What's that? I don't even know what that means. Does that mean like somebody eats oars or something? What the hell are you talking about, girl?
Yes, we are going to cover the animated series Mark with a C.
Yes.
At 7 minutes past the hour, we have that comment. And I just want you to know that I have picked up a really, really great encyclopedia of TAS. And it promises, it's like an encyclopedia. And it promises never before seen or heard of footage behind the scenes involving Gene Roddenberry as well as production. So when we get to TAS, I have quite a treat for you. I haven't read the book myself. I just ordered it through Ontario. I think it took about 2.5 or 3 weeks to get here. So when we cross that bridge, I will unveil it, and I think you're going to love it.
Nice. Now this, I think I forgot to ask you earlier when you were telling me about it. This is a newer book or something older or what?
Actually, I believe it's a newer book. I didn't see, this is what, let me explain how I sort of go about doing these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to speak disparagingly about anybody who writes books. It takes a really long time to write books, especially to write books well, to vet the source material and make sure that it's correct. It also takes a great deal of courage to write a book and put yourself out there where people could criticize you. That being said, that's usually how I vet my books. I go into the places where not only editors talk, but where geeks and nerds talk. And I find out the books that have errors in them or are incomplete, and I tend to avoid them even if they're super popular. So I tend to choose books that I know contain well-wrought material, vetted material, stuff that I know for sure is the good stuff. And that's how I came upon this book through Indigo Chapters.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
I can grab it from the bookshelf if you'd like. I wanted to do like sort of like a mini introduction to it when we get to TAS. Cool. But since sure. We've asked, just give me 3 wags of a dog's tail, because it's right behind me. There are books all over my house. My house is one giant library, but I know exactly where the book is because when I don't read a book, like if I haven't read a book yet, I put it in a special section. So I know where it is, and I'll be right back.
Okay, sure. Excellent. Well, you know, we all I love the animated series, and so I've not heard of this book, so I'm looking forward to finding this when going out and trying to find this thing with my damn self. So
okay, so here it is, and I cannot wait to read it. I'm so excited. It's called Star Trek: The Official Guide to the Animated Series, and it's written by Aaron Harvey and Rich Shepis. I want to say his last name is Shepis. And on the back, some of you follow me on Twitter, so you saw some of the pictures that I posted. So on the back, it says, yes, this has new interviews with the writers and the animators and producers of the show. It boasts rarely or never seen before interviews with Gene Roddenberry. It has behind the scenes production documents that have never been seen before, never seen before art. And it is considered the official encyclopedia with new and updated listings. It also talks about the bloopers, and it has a canon connection in every single episode. So super excited to do this one with you folks.
Well, excellent. By the way, let's see. Raymond Feliciano says, "Oh, that's true. I don't have it. I don't have your book. I'm sorry, Raymond. I forgot all about it, man. If you would bug me and remind me, And I know you do sometimes. I know you remind me sometimes, but dude, I can't remember what day I'm in. I'm pretty sure today is Tuesday, but I couldn't swear to it on a stack of what do they call that book again? See? Zathras is here. All right, Zathras 61. So if you're
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear of your loss too, because you're a Babylon 5 person. And as you know, because I'm Canadian, I haven't had the same access to Babylon 5. But you lost one of your most cherished characters, an actress, and I believe it was prematurely. She was only, I think, 65 years old. So I just wanted to extend my deepest sympathy to the people who really, really adored that character and the actress who portrayed that character. I know the Babylon 5 has a really strong following, and you guys have a little family going, just like us TOS folks. So yeah, I'm really sorry to hear of your loss, and for anyone who is connected with the Babylon 5 people, you know, I just want to extend my deepest sympathy.
Well, thank you for that. Myra Furlong was I met her once, I think a long time ago. Just a really lovely, sweet person. And the character of Delenn on Babylon 5 is one of the most important characters. She's a great character. She was a wonderful actress. And again, I just cannot say enough good things about obviously her as a lady, but also that character that she played so well. So yes, Delenn was not only a wonderful character, but one of the most important characters on the series.
Yeah, would you mind? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be imprudent. This is your show, not mine. But would you be so kind as to go to 13 minutes past the hour, and could we please marquee these well wishes from our marvelous chat who would like to express their condolences and come together over the loss of this great character? So,
yes, she's gone beyond the rim. That is a damn shame. Absolutely. A lovely lady and an excellent actress. And I'm glad some of you have seen, any of you have seen Babylon 5. What a great show. Let's see I hope I'm getting them all. Yes. Just a terrific lady. And 60, it's never good, but 65 is, yes, way too young. I must admit, I don't know exactly the circumstances. But yes, and we'll see. Zathras is kind of reminded me.
We've got one more bringing up the rear here. We've got the caboose, Mr. Feliciano at 14 minutes past the hour.
Yes. Rest in peace, Miss Furlan. You were wonderful, and of course, you left a great mark. Certainly, not only on science fiction fans, of course, but on everyone you met.
Yep. Oh, and this week too, well, not this week, but because it's Saturday, but it was DeForest Kelly's birthday as well, the anniversary of his birthday. So the great D, I just absolutely love that man, and he means the world to me. So wish he were here for, I think it would have been his 101st birthday. So love him. And yeah. May he rest in peace. I'm an agnostic, so for me, it's all but a great perhaps. So wherever he is in the great perhaps, I just wish him all the love in my heart.
Well, I am one of those as well, and I'm totally with you there, and I love DeForest Kelly. So absolutely. And again, it was one of those weeks that usually happen in threes or something like that. It was Larry King, unfortunately, and the great Hank Aaron also passed. So, Larry King was a broadcasting legend.
Yes,
and Hank Aaron was a baseball legend. Got to see him play once.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Well, now we will get on with Star Trek here, folks. So we have 4 episodes for you this evening. And in the first one, Michael Burnham. Just kidding.
Did you want me to leave now? I'll just see myself out. Good night, folks.
Forgive my language.
I will put up with some profanities, but I think you've gone too far there, Mike.
That is a bridge too far.
That is intolerable. That is right up there with the C word.
Oh, I'm absolutely. But I'm thoroughly repentant. Oh man, I've triggered the chat.
Yeah, the chat is with me here. We're gonna flog you. That's it. You're gonna be taken to the town square and flogged. Be happy you're not drawn and quartered, sir.
Oh well, if I was, it would be the bestest drawing corning ever. Bestest ever. Tonight we will be starting with, I do believe, Dagger of the Mind.
Yes.
Go
Yes,
for it.
Dagger of the Mind, Season 1, Episode 9. This is prod code 11. Any initiating thoughts, or should I get right to this block Arrowman coverage, and then we can talk about it? And when I say that, for the folks at home and also for copyright, we have been exploring some of the commentary and behind the scenes, the verified behind the scenes production of the original series in a volume called Star Trek 365 by Paula M. Block. And it says, with Terry J. Arrowman. So I think those are just interviews, or perhaps he was her fact checker. I'm not sure what the relationship is there. And of course, this was blessed through the great high priestess of Star Trek, DC Fontana. It has an introduction there, and it's quite a volume, and it offers us a short take with lots of inside goodies so that we can then expound upon that with knowledge from the chat, and also with knowledge from Mike's expertise and then my expertise. And so then we just sort of try and bring everything we know about the episode together in a very short time period.
Indeedishness. Well, yes. Well, you could just we can go ahead and launch into it. I'll get us a few pictures while you're doing that.
Okay.
Mind, my wonderful first officer and friend.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. The penal colony on Tantalus 5 is known far and wide as a progressive facility. But when Kirk speaks of both it and its director, Tristan Adams, in glowing terms, Dr. McCoy can't help voicing his opinion that a cage is a cage. Kirk, who greatly admires Adams' effort to humanize prisons and the treatment of prisoners, insists that McCoy is wrong. Even after a deranged inmate from Tantalus manages to sneak aboard the Enterprise, upon learning that the inmate is Dr. Simon von Gelder, a member of Adams' staff, McCoy insists that Kirk conduct a complete investigation. As McCoy and Spock attempt to get to the bottom of Van Gelder's apparent psychosis, Kirk tours Tantalus with Enterprise psychiatrist Dr. Helen Noel. However, Kirk's introduction to the facility's neural neutralizer, a device that supposedly eliminates maleficent thoughts from criminal minds, quickly changes the captain's opinion about Adams' benevolent practices. We're on page 70 if you're following along. I know some of you have the book. We're now going to move to the 71-72 tile. Dagger of the Mind is noticeable for introducing the Vulcan mind meld. Spock describes it as an ancient Vulcan technique, one that has not previously been used on humans. The mind meld, he explains, is a highly personal thing to the Vulcan people, to our private lives. But as we would come to learn in later episodes, there's little about any Vulcan ritual that isn't highly personal. The mind meld allows two persons to become linked telepathically, literally sharing each other's consciousnesses. Far more reliable than any truth serum, it can also get to the source of a deeply repressed psychological problem faster and more efficiently than any psychotherapy. Hence, its logical use here to plumb the depths of Simon von Gelder's damaged mind. Spock's finesse, or perhaps actor Leonard Nimoy's finesse, in performing the technique would become far more precise in subsequent episodes. Here, he positions and repositions his hands, touching numerous spots on the patient's skull as he makes pressure changes in nerves and blood vessels. Later in this series, Spock presumably learns that it is possible to restrict these penetrating touches to the region between the human subject's temples and sinus cavities. Although a few times, Spock actually manages to perform a mind meld, or at least implant a suggestion, without touching the subject at all through a wall. And that, of course, would be By Any Other Name and the Omega Glory.
Also, A Taste of Armageddon.
Is it in A Taste of Armageddon?
Yes, that was where he first did it.
Yes. Okay, so she's a beautiful girl, and she and Kirk obviously like each other. What's wrong with this picture? Well, one thing, it never happened. Kirk met Helen at an Enterprise Science Lab Christmas party. They danced and talked about the stars, Dr. Noel recalls. But afterwards, to her great disappointment, she went back to her quarters alone. Dr. Noel clearly was uninformed about Kirk's personal rules of engagement. Despite his legendary appetite for the fairer sex, he makes a point to never hunt within his own fold. U.S. naval regulations, which provide a loose basis for Starfleet's fictional regulations, contribute compelling motivation for Kirk's standard. Personal relationships that are unduly familiar and that do not respect differences in rank and grade violate the long-standing custom and tradition of the U.S. Naval Service and are prohibited. That's a direct quote. The kiss shown here is a fantasy that was inspired by the Tantalus colony's neural neutralizer. Kirk had instructed Dr. Noel to test the device by implanting an unusual suggestion in his mind. Dr. Noel is has a flagrantly unprofessional moment, suggesting in the aftermath of the Christmas party that things had gone differently, that Kirk had swept Helen up in his big, strong arms and carried her to the boudoir, where presumably Kirk had his way with her. Or actually, considering this was her fantasy, it might be more accurate to say that Dr. Noel had her way with him, which I absolutely love. The writers for Star Trek were, by and large, a very scholarly lot, not shy about dropping classic literary references in their scripts. Character and place names used in The Dagger of the Mind suggest that writer S. Barr David, the pen name of Shimon Winselberg, sorry about that, my Jewish is rusty, was from Greek mythology. Tantalus, the penal colony Kirk visits, was the name of the misbegotten son of Zeus, misbegotten in both senses of the word, illegitimate and bad. As punishment for a string of deeds, including cannibalism, human sacrifice, and parricide, Tantalus was consigned to live life in an eternal state of temptation without satisfaction. The English word tantalize is derived from his name. Lethe, the assistant at the Tantalus colony, is a former patient of Dr. Adams who opted to stay on after being cured. Her blank expression and eerie, emotionless demeanor suggests that Adams has wiped out more than her criminal tendencies with his machine. In Greek mythology, Lethe was a river in Hades. Anyone who drank from it experienced complete forgetfulness. The name is the source for the English word lethargy, meaning sluggish or indifferent, lest we forget. And just one more, and then that's it for this one. No, it's not deja vu. We have been here before, or at least Kirk has. The establishing shot for Tantalus Penal Colony for the facility in Dagger of the Mind is a modified version of the matte painting depicting Delta Vega's lithium cracking station in Where No Man Has Gone Before. The towering refinery tanks in the background of the Delta Vega operation were eliminated, and the entrance door to the administration building was changed. Matte paintings were often reused in Star Trek episodes, sometimes with modification and sometimes without. In an era when television episodes were traditionally repeated in rerun form only once, and when the dawn of home video lay nearly a decade in the future, no one worried about reusing a set or a prop or a matte painting. Once, twice, or more. And that finishes up the block coverage. Before I get to my notes, I'd like to turn it over to you, Mike. Tell me what you know about this episode, or how you feel about Block's comments.
Well, I thought that was fascinating. I think the episode of itself is not. I wouldn't call it one of my favorites or anything. There are things I do like in it. One of my, again, tidbits, I guess you could say, in a sense. For example, some of the I guess it's tough to call it conflict, but some of the for lack of a better term, the conflict between Kirk and McCoy their argument over Tantalus Colony and Doctor Adams' work. I was fascinated by this again. We're still as we're talking, as we've been saying every week, everyone. This is production order, so these characters are still in the process of being fleshed out a bit, and as are their relationships. And this was a little bit of a pretty good development between Kirk and McCoy. The way they butt heads sometimes, I like that of it. I love that it was our first experience with the mind meld, so it's a first episode there. I mean, it's first episode. It's a first for an episode there. Morgan Woodward, who we will see again on Star Trek, also the man with no eyes in the great film Cool Hand and Luke, is really excellent as Dr. Simon Van Gelder.
Well, more than excellent. I don't know if he won an Emmy. I believe TAS was the first Emmy that Star Trek ever earned. So I don't think it was for TOS. But I will tell you this: that Morgan Woodward's performance here is one of the best in the history of Star Trek. It took him 3 weeks to recover from this. It had a profound effect on him, and I absolutely love what Mark with a C has put up at 26 minutes after the hour. And that is exactly what was going on there, Mark with a C. This is what's happening. This is a society in real life grappling with how we treat the mentally ill and those we incarcerate. So yeah, definitely links to electric shock therapy there, where we're grappling with the ideas of what's humane and what's inhumane. So yeah, and just outstanding. Terrified me when I was a kid, and is still moving to me to this day. And I watch this episode every year, as I watch every episode every year, and it still has the same effect on me. It's just what he does there is it's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's brilliant. He's great. By the way, a couple of quick hellos to some new arrivals. The great Rod Thunderheart has popped in.
Oh, great! You know,
Hello?
my chat window, it has a delay, and I don't know if it's my system or if it's Firefox. I don't know why, but I don't get to see the new people come in until they're here for a while. So, Rod Thunderheart, I love you.
Weird. I don't know. And then there's my great old friend, Just Joe 47. Jobber, great to see you as always. And another great pal and a friend from Xander Doom, D. Oberg. Hey, buddy.
Oh, welcome. So nice to see you. Your first name is Doug, right? I think it is.
It is Doug.
It's so nice to see you, Doug. Thank you for stopping by. Although I can't see your comments yet. They're not going to come up for me for a minute or two, but yeah.
So you don't see the one I just I put up there?
No, I have about, I would say maybe a 2 to 3 minute delay on all comments in the chat, which really sucks.
Strange. So has it done that before? Or?
It's always done that, and it doesn't matter what stream I'm on. A Midnight's Edge After Dark, same thing. When I was on the Pegasus Actual podcast, when I was on Orville Nation, it's always the same thing. I think it's just Firefox.
Oh, I got you. Well, and then there was let's see, he wrote Mariana Hill worked with Leonard Nimoy on the Outer Limits episode I, Robot. I remember the episode. I didn't realize she was in there. Yeah, I love her, by the way.
Well, there's a lot going on there too, right? Like when we get into my notes, I wrote here in my notes, the Washington Post reported in 2015 that Grace Lee Whitney wrote in her 1998 book, The Longest Trek, My Tour of the Galaxy, which of course was blessed by the late great Leonard Nimoy, that she was sexually assaulted by one of the show's executives at a wrap-up party. It is significant to this episode as the part of Helen Noel was originally written for Rand. Whitney believed that she was written off the show because she began protesting about the sexual assault, and some people put that date. This is not confirmed, at August 26, 1966. So, wow, that's a huge thing, right? So they literally wrote our beautiful, one of the great goddesses of Star Trek off the show. So
yeah, Damn.
So Helen Noel, you have to imagine her being played by our favorite basket weaved hair goddess.
Yeah, Grace Lee Whitney.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn. That's just such a damn shame. Let's see here. Oh, Rod Thunderheart says, woo. Great to see you, Raquel. You need to have a coffee so you can get your Cuba DVD.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but you do. So,
just Canadians travel a lot to Cuba, and Cuba is known for their coffee. And Rod Thunderheart is my friend in real life. So Rod Thunderheart is an author who lives in the same city and province I do.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, again, this episode. Yeah, by the way, James Gregory should be mentioned at least a little bit. That guy, James Gregory, who was on Bonnie Miller, and he was also in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and you got on the Ovaltine, Bond. Everyone remembers Inspector Luger. Was it Luger? Yeah. So I used to love Barney Miller, and I think he was always on there. But I think I don't know. I think I saw him on Star Trek before that. I'm not sure actually, but anyway. Yeah, an interesting performance by him, I would have to say. Like all Star Trek, it has a fascinating. It deals with a fascinating concept and an issue, and something talking about electroshock therapy, things like that. Some of the moments between the awkwardness between Kirk and Noel is quite good. Overall, it's a solid, good. Oh, we have a wonderful, distinguished guest that just popped in here.
Katie! Hello, sweetheart.
Katie Carr.
Yeah.
Thank you for popping in, my friend. We're
so
always,
good to see you.
Yes, we're always so happy to see you. Thank you so much for being here. All in all, the episode, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Just some of those basic things. Like I said, I like some of the stuff between Kirk and McCoy. I liked some of the stuff between Kirk and Noel, actually. Van Gelder, of course, that's a standout performance from Morgan Woodward. It's a fascinating concept and a good story. Just not one of my super, super favorite episodes or anything like that, but a good one. That's all.
Well, I read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when I was quite young. Well, I wasn't that young, but I was young enough. So Mark with the C, he's really tapped into an area where this is a very academic, this is a very scholarly episode. And so for me, although it generally rates as a B for most people, this gets an A+ for me because of that convergence between, especially being a Canadian, between this sort of benevolence of incarceration and being able to rehabilitate the incarcerated, and then also grappling with how society must deal with involuntary institutionalization of people who struggle with mental health issues. So for me, it's a weighty issue. I also really, really love the fact that this is from Macbeth, right? And of course, we know in Macbeth, he hallucinates a dagger while he's planning the murder of the King of Scotland, right? So dagger of the mind is ripped right out of Shakespeare, right? So
yes.
Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle towards my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight, or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? It's just fabulous. And yeah, so for me, this generally from geeks, it generally gets a B rating, but for a nerd like me, this is getting an A+ rating.
Well, excellent. Well, it's a solid episode, and again, it deals with, well, like all of Trek, or the best of Trek, issues that certainly weren't being tackled at any point in time back then by television. No, absolutely not. And which was one of the wonderful things you could do with science fiction. So no, again, I have nothing bad to say about the episode. I like it a lot. I'm just, I don't know what it is. I have some episodes I like a lot better, but I do like this one. It is a solid episode, and you've made me like it even more. You have a knack to do that. By the way.
Oh, I just love you so much, and if you've not watched this episode, if you're new to Star Trek and you haven't watched this episode, please do. And when you do, I want you to consider it alongside portrayals by similar actors when thinking about what Morgan Woodward did here, because I truly believe that it is criminal that although that is a very trite thing to say these days, everyone's saying it, and it's a bad pun given the topic of the episode, but it's criminal that he did not receive an Emmy for this performance.
Yes. Well, even back then, the snobbery against anything science fiction. Now, again, it was. Did they give? By the way, did they give awards in the Emmys for single episode appearances? I don't know if they did. Anyway,
I think, isn't that like in a supporting actor category or something?
That would still be a regular on the show.
Yeah, it's just so sad. I mean, this is a guy who was a gunslinger. He was in every Western I was watching when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then he comes out of nowhere and he gives a performance that would shame Jack Nicholson in when the book was finally turned into One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it became that film. I mean, Woodward puts Jack Nicholson to shame in his performance here, and even the rigidity of his body. I mean, this man physically suffered and psychologically suffered for 3 weeks after doing this, and there's nothing melodramatic or cheesy or anything about it. It's actually like it makes my spine feel mushy, like it makes me feel really sick. It is effing outstanding. I wish I could drop like a massive F-bomb and just say how wonderful I think it is that he did this masterful performance. I watch many stage plays. I am an avid attender of live theater, and he is outstanding.
Well, go for it, I say. We have a new friend who just popped in. Katie was mentioning a podcast she likes called Galileo 3 that is not on YouTube at the moment. And then Steve Mitchum asked if they were. And then our new friend Roman 1701, I like your number. Says, unfortunately not, meaning they're not on YouTube yet, but we're thinking about it. But we're on every other major podcasting platform, from like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so on. So anyone out there, go look. Put the name of the podcast in there again if you would like, Roman 1701, and hopefully everyone will check it out. I wish you best of luck, and I hope you come to YouTube because it's a fun place to be. You might like it. Mm-hmm. And we always love any fellow Trekkers that love talking the Trek. We're very happy to see you.
As long as it's real Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes,
otherwise, phasers set to stun. You know what I mean? Not set to kill, just to stun and then leave you on a dead planet, buried alive.
Buried alive. Yes.
Evil-gasm.
We're gatekeeping. Proud of it now. But anyway, the Roman 1701, thank you for popping in. We appreciate seeing you. We're always happy to see any wonderful new friends pop in. Mm-hmm. Yes, and again, you talk about Morgan Woodward. I mean, yes, he's so great in this one. He wasn't too shabby in Omega Glory either. He was also great as Captain Ron Tracy. Great actor. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
I grew up watching Westerns, man. That's what I grew up in the 70s, so that's all we had to watch. I mean, Gene Roddenberry, it's not... Science fiction wasn't common back then. Nobody wanted to back it. Nobody wanted to watch it. Everybody wanted to follow the gravy train. Ha ha ha. Yeah, more puns from me. I'm dad pun lady tonight. But, everybody wanted to follow that gravy train, right? Everybody wanted the next Bonanza. Everybody wanted the next Ponderosa. Everybody wanted the next Have Gun Will Travel. Everybody wanted that action, right? They didn't want to take a chance on science fiction. So he's a great actor, well known to those of us who grew up in the 70s.
Oh, by the way, a little bit earlier, speaking of our beloved D. Kelly, our buddy Just Joe said he was watching an old episode of one of my old favorite Westerns, Wanted Dead or Alive, with Stephen McQueen. He said he caught DeForest Kelly's on there. I remember him being on there with a mustache. So, yeah, of course, I've seen him on so many Westerns.
That guy is so handsome. If he were born in my generation, I'm telling you, there are about 5 decades difference between D and I. But, oh, man, I would have shipped my little patootie down to California, and I would have been down there. I just would have, I'd be fawning over that man.
Oh, well, did he ever play a good guy before McCoy? I'm sure he did, but man, he's always a bad guy in those
Yeah.
Westerns.
Well, but that's what they say in Hollywood, right? They always say that, and that's like a
Yeah.
rumor. But I think that there might be some psychology to it, that the kindest people play the best villains. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
also like why when McCoy gets stern here with Captain Kirk, and they're quasi educating the folks at home as to the fact that even the great Captain Kirk must yield to his physician. And so yeah, but I think that's why when he gets a little stern, he's so well versed in it, is because he played such a great,
Yeah.
dastardly villain.
Yeah. And again, I think I reiterate that is probably one of the parts of the episode I like best, the stuff between
Yeah.
Kirk and McCoy at the beginning. I guess I'm just that way. I always love, because the Kirk, I mean, the McCoy Spock fights are of course legendary. I mean, everyone loves them, but the Kirk McCoy spats are kind of always fun for me. I don't know what it is.
Well, they are, because there's such a refined and cerebral exchange, and the writing is so incredibly meticulous that it makes you feel as though these are real human beings. And this isn't hyperbole. This is overstating it. If you go back and rewatch these episodes, watch how he very gingerly transitions from calling him Jim to calling him Sir. And it's a delicate
Yeah.
balance, because we're talking about the Holy Trinity for us agnostics and atheists, and when the Holy Trinity disagrees, there's going to be some Jim, and then there's going to be some Sir.
Of course. Well, what more do we have, if any, on Dagger of the Mind?
That's about it. That's all I had in my notes. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about Grace's 1998 book. I want people definitely reading that. I think it's incredibly sad that she was sexually assaulted, or she alleged that she was sexually assaulted
Yes.
by this executive, and the fact that Leonard Nimoy blessed that book. Well, you already know what that means to me, Mike. That
Right.
Leonard Nimoy is beyond reproach for me when it comes to his personal life and his personal ethics. And
Mhm.
I think he's a great man. So not that I need a man to say whether or not I believe Grace, because of course I believe Grace. She is one of the great icons of the original series. And the fact that she never revealed who did it to her, I think it's quite heartbreaking. But it contributed to her depression and her alcohol abuse, and so that person, whomever it is, destroyed her life. And it's very sad, and then got his way, evidently, by having her written off the show. And we're going to get into that a little bit more as we discuss Miri and then the Conscience of the King. We'll talk about what happened over these next 3 episodes in relation to that alleged sexual assault.
Okie doke. So we could move you, if you're ready now, we can move on to Miri.
Oh yeah, so here we have Miri. This is season 1, episode 8. This is prod number 12. And before we get into it, I haven't pre-read the text tonight because I know this episode really well. So hopefully my extemporaneous reading is good. One thing I would like to say at the outset, before we go any further, is this is one of the banned episodes. So in many countries around the world, namely the UK, the BBC responded to numerous, or so they claim, public complaints about this episode.
Wow.
And thus, the BBC preemptively banned Plato's Stepchildren, The Empath, and Whom Gods Destroy, along with this episode, to prevent further offense because people were offended, and further complaints. And when they were asked to return this episode to airing, of course, they said no, citing themes of madness, torture, sadism, and disease. And it is my understanding through extensive research that even today, this episode is considered a horror, and it is shown on a horror channel. Rather than just regular old science fiction. So how do you like that for being afraid of a pandemic?
Wow.
Well,
My goodness.
genetic, what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yes, of course.
Anyways,
Ninja
so
Knight, Ninja Knight, thanks for popping in, man. I'm honored to have
well,
you here. Another great buddy of mine. Good to see you, good my friend. Sorry, go ahead. I just want to say hello there.
no, it's okay. I like it. I think it's great. I grew up in debate, and I work in radio, and of course I teach college. So I don't mind the interruption. Not only am I not frail, but I love the spirit of the cheering and the jeering, and the just everybody feeling passionate and excited to talk about it. So yeah, no complaints here.
Excellent. And also, you with that pronouncing that name, I'm going to try today. Is here.
Mm.
A good buddy though, a
Mm.
very cool person, and I like that name. I don't know why, I just like it.
I wonder why you like that name.
I don't know. Let's see. Never. Hey,
Okay,
you picked
let's dig
it.
into these notes on Miri. This it has pretty extensive coverage. There are only 3 tiles for this, and so we're on the block text 75, 76 to 78. So let's do it, folks. The Enterprise comes across a planet that resembles Earth, and it was in the mid-century. Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Yeoman Rand beam down and find the planet's only inhabitants are a tribe of prepubescent children who, somewhat fittingly, refer to themselves as onlys. But Kirk wonders, where are the parents? Before long, he finds the chilling answer. The children are the only survivors of a scientific experiment gone terribly wrong, a misguided attempt to develop a virus that would extend the human lifespan. The virus worked as theorized on the children, who are all more than 300 years old, but the adults died from the virus's terrible side effects. And the children, who are aging slowly, will face the same fate once they reach puberty, at which point they will deteriorate rapidly and die in extreme agony. The adult members of the Enterprise landing party already shows symptoms of the virus, are likely to die sooner than that, unless McCoy can develop a cure. But when the children band against the adults and steal the equipment that would allow McCoy to test a potential vaccine, only the adolescent Miri, torn between her loyalty to her young friends and her developing feelings towards Kirk, can save their lives. Pundits of the day call it the generation gap. During the 3-year period that Star Trek was in production, a unique generational conflict found sociological footing. Burgeoning baby boomers began asserting themselves politically, just as events of the day, an unpopular war in Vietnam, the rise of psychedelic drugs, the popularity of rock and roll, the immediacy of television news, united them in an unprecedented manner. The establishment saw these young people as challenging, confrontational, dubbing them and their activities as counterculture. The boomers responded defiantly, tossing back slogans such as question authority and don't trust anyone over 30. Schisms between parents and children, teachers and students, administrators and young voters were not new. But this period of social unrest was far more widespread than ever before, which inspired screenwriters to in search of subject matter. Miri, written by Adrian Spies, drew inspiration from current events. The generation gap between Kirk and the self-sufficient children from the William Golding novel Lord of the Flies. It's easy to correlate the only's fear of violence, or grups, also known as grown-ups, with Fly's little uns, frightened of the unknown, which is realized in the book as the beast. While the novel paints a vivid image of how separation from societal restraints and parents can turn even the most innocent children into killers, Miri provides a softer but equally cautionary tale for contemporary audiences. Actor Phil Morris was 7 years old when he appeared in Miri as one of the onlys, an anonymous boy wearing a helmet. Morris has since appeared in numerous Star Trek productions, including Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager. Did you hear that, Katie? His long resume, which includes a reoccurring role on Seinfeld as lawyer Jackie Chiles and as an ongoing cast member in Rivals of Mission Impossible, The Love Boat. During the 1960s, Phil's father, Greg Morris, co-starred as Barney Collier in Mission Impossible, another Desilu production. The producers tapped the pool of talent working on the Paramount lot and got them to bring in their kids. Phil Morris explains, "They got me, my older sister Iona, two of William Shatner's daughters, and it was cool. Man, working with Michael J. Pollard, and it was a lot of fun. My foot got run over by a camera dolly," he laughs, "which made it both the highlight and the lowlight of my career." Lisbeth Shatner and her older sister Leslie were in the group. Miss Shatner notes that she was too young to understand what they were doing and the things that they were being asked, but she eventually realized everything was just, quote unquote, pretend. And there's one particular detail that never left her memory. Janice Rand's unique hairdo. "I was utterly fascinated by it," she recalls. "It was woven into a checkered pattern on top, and I stared at it for a long time, wondering if it was possible to actually play checkers on it." So, and that's it for the coverage of this episode, I think. Or do we have one more? Oh, we have one more. Why does Miri's world look so much like Earth? And why do the streets that she and her friends play on look so much like the streets of any town in USA? The word budget is extremely important in Hollywood. No genre-based television series, be it a Western, cop drama, or space exploration show, ever had a budget enough to create all the paraphernalia so vital to the ideal look of a series. Or so the producers say. In the 1960s, it was relatively easy to find a ranch with horses for actors to ride or a city street in Los Angeles that could fill in for any U.S. urban center. Alien worlds, however, were not quite so common, so producers of the science fiction series were forced to be creative, to tailor their shows to what was easy to fabricate. As the producers of Star Trek instructed potential writers in the show's 1967 series guide, and this is a quote, "Be creative, but practical. Remember, Class M planets, a Star Trek term that designated planets with oxygen, nitrogen atmospheres capable of supporting life as we know it, will often be familiar to many parts of Earth, with societies duplicating or intermixing almost any era in man's development. Jungle backgrounds exist on lots. So what about primeval worlds? Or a pioneer Indian type culture. Lovely parklands exist locally, so do unusually highly modern buildings, and so do farms." And so it did a ready-made set regularly used by the Andy Griffith Show and Desilu Culver on the back of the Desilu Culver lot, Culver City neighborhood of Los Angeles. Available a set, Meet Television Production, seeing sets available. We now pronounce you Planet, which apparently is an exact duplicate of Earth. So a little strangely written there, but I did not know that it was on the Andy Griffith Show. Any thoughts on this?
Yes, I think also in City on the Edge of Forever, they use those Andy Griffith sets. A lot of shows use those a lot, yeah. Because I could tell one scene where Kirk and the Keeler are walking by Floyd's barbershop. But I watched Andy Griffith a lot, so yes, those sets, those were they had a lot of those back then. Those sets from because there's so many
Westerns
games and there were westerns and all that other kind of stuff. Yes. I really like this episode. It's study, or bonk, bonk, bad kid. There's a lot of great character stuff in this one. It is a fascinating story. Now, a lot of people like to make fun of all the stuff with the onlys. Mm-hmm. This was Michael J. Pollard, who went on to be in he went on to be in Bonnie and Clyde, and of course Ken Dauber went on to be in one of my favorite John Wayne films, True mm-hmm. Grit. But sad, fond farewell to Yeoman Rand, unfortunately. But this one is just I guess like I said, it's got a lot of great character moments in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you covered everything, but I've always really enjoyed some of the stuff between actually even Kirk and Rand for a little bit there.
Yeah. Well, no, Grace was fired after this episode, but she
Yes.
is in Conscience of the King. They stripped down her participation in Conscience of the King, but she is in it. But yes, the rumor is
Oh,
that
that's right.
this was the episode where they did fire her, but she is in the Conscience of the King, and she would have been more in the Conscience of the King, but they just ceased to tape all of the things they wanted to tape with her, or should I say film. There's also another thing about this episode that I've never read anywhere, but that I know, and I think it's because I have so many Leonard Nimoy books. They came to Leonard Nimoy and said, can we put your kids in this episode? Everyone's kids, they're all going to be in this episode. And Leonard Nimoy was like, no, you may not have my children. I don't want my children in show business. I don't want them in this episode. And clearly, he kind of knew that it was going to be received as something very weighty, very terrifying and terrorizing for many people who were so horrified by this episode that they managed to get it banned in several countries.
Wow, that's amazing. And that I don't know why, but I've never heard that. Wasn't Ace was asking one really important point on what you were saying. Why are none of these planets discussed in subsequent Trek, particularly the Roman, or which I guess that would be bread and circuses, or the Ratsy planet, the Yahtzee planet, which would be patterns of force.
Yeah.
And then of course there was Sigma Yosha too in Piece of the Action. Why are none of these planets discussed?
Well, Ace,
I don't know.
Well, Ace, I can interrupt and say right now, I think they wanted this Star Trek to go on for a much longer period of time than it did. I mean, it was canceled because it was too cerebral.
Well, yeah.
That was their major complaint on this show, and they just didn't like it. And then, of course, there are oodles and oodles and poodles of chapters and chapters and chapters in every single Star Trek book that explain that they actually had like the full facepalm moment when this sea of public backlash came at them when they realized that they canceled this really super popular show. And once it was syndicated, then they really these executives were really publicly humiliated because, of course, Star Trek in the United States was being shown in syndication right at the dinner hour. And of course, this is the TV dinner generation. This is when people first started buying television tables. So those little fold them out tables, and people would eat their dinner, whether it was Hamburger Helper, a TV dinner, or mom's meatloaf. They would be eating it in front of the television, watching Star Trek. And so what ended up happening is everybody started watching Star Trek, and it became this thing that it was like a cultural phenomenon. And then, of course, then the egg was really on the executives' faces, right? They made complete asses out of themselves, and then they scrambled behind the scenes to get this crew back together again. But that's another show. I'll talk about that at another show.
Aryan Feliciano, I met her at a con. She was a sweet. I'm not exactly sure who you're referring to, whether it's Grace Lee Whitney, which I met her at a con. She was very sweet, or Kim Darby. So I'm not sure exactly who you mean, pal. But either way,
and she was a good actress too. When she walks over to McCoy with the in front of the microscope. And just look at the way that how emotive her face is, and just how compelling she is. And I just to me, she's a goddess. I absolutely love her, and there's no replacing her, and certainly not the actress who played Noelle could ever replace her. Not for me. Just she's something else for me. She's a great icon of the original series and of Star Trek in general. And God rest her soul, even though I'm an agnostic, I am a huge Grace Lee Whitney fan.
Same here. And by the way, Ariane, I thought you were talking about her. I just wasn't sure because I just got through talking about Kim Darby for a second there. But okay. Yep. Yes, that was Grace Lee Whitney. Just being sure, buddy. And yes, I agree with Mark C. Logan's Run's definitely worth checking out. Katie Carr, if you ever want to see it. If you like, especially like old 70s science fiction films. And then if your palm starts blinking red, there is no sanctuary. and you must be renewed. Sorry, quoting a movie nobody's even seen anymore. So,
Yeah, and interestingly, on a personal note too, I made my child. Well, I didn't have to force, but I do have a certain selection in which I think children should be raised on, and of course, Lord of the Flies was a side by side reading for this particular episode. So really terrific for comparative literature, for comparative analysis, for comparative teaching, just for discussing this concept of what would happen if children were abandoned, and how our base natures would bubble up to the surface, and it would be rather ugly in the form of bonk bonk.
bonk,
Not
bonk.
good. Yeah, whenever I see that's my one qualm with this episode. Outstanding episode. I did not like the fact that they beat Kirk over the skull with various implements, and yet he apparently is Wile E. Coyote and just came right back, no prob. So that's my one beef with this episode. But other than that, this is a great episode for me. This is a solid. What am I going to give this? This is a solid A-, maybe B+.
I'd probably go with a B for myself, and I do really like it a lot. By the way, Mark with a C says, very cool. McCoy's biocomputer communicates with the ship's data banks via communicators, and the internet, in quotes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Our new friend Roman 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D, says Helen Noel was a great character as well. Yeah. I met Mariana Hill at a con, and she was the sweetest person ever. Well, there you go. Great.
Yes, and I'm sure that she's lovely. Nothing to detract from her, but it's kind of like Jadzia Dax and Esri Dax. You've got nothing against the actor or the actress, but we tend to take this stuff that we love like a punch to the gut. And if you've read about Grace Lee Whitney's life, you would know that what was done to her here was incredibly damaging to her, and we'll talk about that later as we talk about the films and when she comes back on the scene. But she is very important to Star Trek. She's a very important part of my childhood. I don't like the way that she was treated, and it's definitely an Esri Dax, Jadzia Dax situation for me. Got nothing against the actress in an impossible situation, but she's no replacement for me. Give me my Grace, and give me my Grace now. And if I had known when I was a kid, I would have marched on Paramount. From Canada with my legion of Canadian followers.
Wow, we're still jumping with the Logan's Run stuff here. We're like Ace Cast at renew. I haven't watched that. No, I need to watch that again. And then another one. There's Katie saying bonk bonk on the head, bad kid. It's just bonk bonk, but yeah. Study, or bonk bonk, bad kid. Yeah. And then there's Ace. Yeah, well, there's Scooby Runner. Yep, you're a runner now because you're 30. Your life is over. Let's see. There's no blah, blah, blah. It's quotable in that fun way. But just to speak a little bit to the episode again, there's a lot of good stuff in it. I think it's an excellent story. Again, it's a top.
Well, they should have given Kirk the little sign that says "Help me."
Yes, Wile E. Coyote,
Mr. Feliciano, you and your wife. I love you and your wife. You and Sandra Feliciano are such great people. Thank you for a wonderful comment. I love your mind. Your mind is a marvel, sir.
Indeedishness. Yeah. Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, there you go. But yeah, great one. Again, I think some standout bits. Obviously, some of the stuff between Spock and McCoy when they were arguing about the serum. Of course, Spock's immune, but he has to stay there. He's a carrier, so he's not too thrilled with that. And then you have McCoy. Again, this has got a great McCoy moment when he shows what that medical man that he is.
Can I interrupt you for one small second?
Anytime.
Can we please put Eric K's comment at 5 minutes past the hour?
Eric K, I wouldn't trust that guy with a comment as far as I can. Oh, okay. Sure.
I love you, Eric.
Well,
I noticed that you said bonk bonk.
Oh, well, so did I, but Is it true, Eric K, that you used to own a comic shop? It was a rumor. He does that to me all the time, so I want to do it to him once. Eric knows we love him.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Let's see here. But yes, when McCoy decides, what did Spock say? It could be a cure, or it could be a beaker full of death.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that line.
And it's just so final and so frank, and there's no feeling in it whatsoever.
And then McCoy just, hey, that's quintessential McCoy right there. He says, well, what else? What do we have to lose? So he just injects himself with that. And
like many great scientists before him,
yes.
and like many great scientists today, he injected himself.
Yep.
We ought to be indebted to our science and our scientists that have cured so many diseases, ameliorated so much death and destruction and despair and disfigurement, and just this is an ode to their work, and very grateful for our scientific community.
I knew it was one of the two of us, Eric. I just forgot, buddy. Well, so yeah, and again, a couple of other great bit. The whole stuff. I know you didn't like him getting pounded on the head and stuff, but I do like that whole scene where Kirk is when Kirk is doing his usual Kirk spectacular speech to the kids at the end there to convince them. I mean, so that's some classic Kirk stuff right there. I always love when Kirk gives one of his added speeches.
And I understand the Captain Caveman Club. You guys all remember Captain Caveman.
Okay, so
that's
Captain
what it
Caveman.
Yes. Okay, so that's what the weapon looks like. But the kid with the hammer, it's just, the thing is that because I'm a bit of a Star Trek snob, I don't like my Star Trek to be science fantasy. I never have. I never will. I enjoy science fantasy, but I just don't like science fantasy when it rubs up against my science fiction. And as you all know, I will always remind folks that science fantasy breaks the laws of reality, and science fiction tends to predict our future. It's usually futurism. It's entirely possible in real life. So when I see him get bonked on the head with a hammer, and he just basically walks away rubbing the blood off, I'm a little cheesed, because I think we need more than that, especially when you're going to sandwich it in the prod codes that are going into so much Shakespeare.
Well, they should have thought of that then. Damn it. Damn them. But yes.
Did Eric just call Katie a cutie? Yeah, she is, isn't she? And that means no disrespect. But have you seen a more beautiful ballerina? I would love to see her dance. I'm a season ticket holder to Alberta Ballet. I have been for very many years. I love the director of our ballet. My husband and I make sure that we have a conversation with him every chance we can get. And so I am a huge proponent of the ballet, and I would love to see Katie dance.
Eric, my good man, are you perhaps insinuating that we here at Clobberin Times give preferential treatment to a lady just because she happens to be a lovely lady? Well, I'll have you know, my good man, that you're probably exactly right, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, preferential treatment for the ladies. And if you gentlemen don't like it, you can step outside, and I will challenge you to a duel at 10 paces of something. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And could we please marquee the comment from Katie Carr at 9 minutes after the hour?
Only if I can find it. Where?
It's right underneath the great Sandra Feliciano. Yeah, here we have it. Star Trek used to put the science in fiction, not the fiction in science.
Well
Folks,
done.
This is Katie Carr, the next generation of Star Trek fans that loves it from the very beginning and actually watches it. Doesn't just go on Twitter to use it as a transmedia narrative. She actually watches it.
Well put, Katie. Well put indeed. Captain Caveman was the very first superhero to prove me wrong. I can't prove you wrong. He was the very first. Well, unless you go to DC, then that would be Anthro, wouldn't it? But I'm sorry. I don't mean to get too. Oh, that was too obscure.
My favorite was when the sun came out because it was just so absurd. You know, you've got that beginning, Captain Caveman, and then and sun.
Wasn't that Mel Blanc doing that voice? I can't remember.
It might have been. That was the Mel Blanc era. So yeah.
Well, he did work for Hanna-Barbera a little bit. It was probably Frank Welker. I can't remember now. Someone let me know. Steve will know. You give me confidence. Well, no, you give your self-confidence, my dear lady. No, of course not. I'm sorry to be talking like it. All right, I'm going to talk silly later, but I need to cut that out. So unless you want me to start being Johnny Carson again tonight. Raquel, let's show us some of the animals you brought from the zoo to show us. Edward really likes it when you bring the. Oh, sorry.
Would you like to pet my eagle?
Eagles. I don't just don't let that thing take my toupee off again. Raquel is right. She usually is. I mean, I always tell her she's right because she can hurt me if I don't. When he gets bonked on the head, we should have gotten it. Animated blue birds flying out of his.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a Wile E. Coyote moment. I'm waiting for Mimi. Or the little sign, like Raven Feliciano said. We'll just put up the little sign. Help me.
Yes. Oh my goodness, we got a rollicking chat there tonight. I tell you what, let's see here. So purple. It's too bad. Yeah, I love purple. But
where is purple lady?
I had her on with me the other night, but it's so late over there. You know,
I know. She asked me to join her on her show, and I so want to go on there and chat with the girls, but it's so early for me.
Oh yes, it is. That's true.
You got to think about the time zones, right? So for me, it'd be I would literally be getting out of bed at 7 a.m. Hi. And I teach night school when I'm working. Right now, I'm not working due to the vid, but when I teach night class, right? I have adult students and I teach night school. So.
Oh yeah. So Mel Blanc, the one and only. That's right, the one and only Mel Blanc. Yes, and he's great. So yes. Oh yeah. Well, they go on at 10 my time, so it'll be 9 your time in the morning. Yeah. But they are. She and Samantha, you'd love them. They're really a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, they're great girls. I follow them all on Twitter, and they follow me, and I just love those girls. They're a great group. Sweet
sweethearts. I love them. Yep, there you go. Nate, don't scuba. It's gonna be your fault if I go into Carson again. Well, that is wild, weird stuff. Ed, why don't you go screw yourself? Carson never actually did. You should see some of the bloopers. But anyway, so let's see here. Hey, Alpha Omega,
welcome,
my friend. Welcome, good sir. Welcome. Miri, final thoughts, or do you have anything you have to go with Miri? Again, an excellent episode, a lot of cool stuff in it, and you gave us a lot of fun information about it.
Solid B plus, edging on A minus. The teacher is happy with this particular student, minus the Wile E. Coyote bonk 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 moments.
Yes, good stuff. A good episode, and whenever I will leave it to you, number one, to tell us when you're ready for the next.
Okay, well, we've got coming up next, and if you've just joined us, we are covering Star Trek 1966 to 2005, which is the real and only Star Trek, and we are doing 4 episodes of TOS tonight, and the next episode is The Conscience of the King, and we are using a vetted source to open up some of the things that happen behind the scenes, open up some facts, lay down the story in a little bit of synopsis, and then we take it apart ourselves using the expertise from my co-host, from myself, and from our illustrious chat. So, without further ado, here is The Conscience of the King. This is season 1, episode 13, and this is prod code 13. So this is actually happening when it's supposed to happen. And we're on tile 79 of the block text, Star Trek 365. Research scientist Thomas Layton is certain that Anton Caridian, part of the traveling Shakespearean troupe, is actually Kodo, the executioner, the infamous former governor of Tarsus IV, who sent 4,000 people to their deaths 20 years ago. Leighton and his friend James Kirk were both on Tarsus at the time of the massacre. Kirk has put the past behind him, while Leighton's scars run deep, both physically and psychologically. Although Kirk is skeptical of the accusation, his curiosity is piqued, and he attends a party for the Caridian acting company at Leighton's home. Yeah, it's very difficult for me because when you switch back and forth from different languages and you're looking at different languages, sometimes you have to stop for a second. You know what I mean?
Oh, I got you. By the way, let's say hello to the great Mexican Iron Man, the glorious Mexican Iron Man. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, nice to see you, Mexican Iron Man. But yeah, that's usually why I stop. It's especially hard for me when I switch back and forth from English to Greek, because of course I lived as a Greek for a decade and a half, and I taught Greek school. But now I haven't spoken Greek for 10 years, and so now, like sometimes when I'm reading Greek or I'm reading another language, I'm switching back and forth inside of my brain, and I have to stop. Anyway, let's keep going.
Indeed.
Caridian acting company at Leighton's home. There he encounters Caridian's beautiful daughter Lenore, and not long after, the dead body of Dr. Leighton. Now concerned that his deceased friend may have been onto something, Kirk offers the troupe passage aboard the Enterprise to their next performance, while he attempts to investigate further. In the meantime, Spock learns that with the death of Dr. Leighton, of the 9 people who actually saw the face of Kodos 2 decades ago, only 2 men remain alive, Kirk and Lieutenant Kevin Riley. That should be O'Reilly. I'll take you home, Kathleen. Anyway, yeah, okay, so they're both on the Enterprise, and when Riley is poisoned almost fatally while stationed alone at his post, it seems logical to Spock that his captain is about to become the next and final target of the killer. The character who gets poisoned in The Conscience of the King wasn't originally written for to be Kevin Riley, notes actor Bruce Hyde. But when they decided to use me a second time on the show, following his appearance in The Naked Time, they turned him into the same guy I played before. And thus, Kevin Riley was upgraded from a guest star in one episode to a regular character aboard the USS Enterprise, at least in the minds of many of the fans. I guess it was a memorable glass of milk, chuckles Hyde. I only acted professionally from 1964 to 1970, traveling back and forth between New York and LA. Then I was cast into the San Francisco company of Hair, and at the end of that year, I decided to drop out of acting and stay in San Francisco. I really left the whole arena. So it was a surprise to me a few years later when I read this article in the New Yorker about a big Star Trek convention in New York. Apparently, there was a trivia contest, and they ran a sample question. What was the poison put in Lieutenant Riley's milk? And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe they really think about that. It was my first inkling. It was the first inkling I had that Star Trek could be such an issue for years to come. And I can remember the name of the poison. Do you remember what it is?
WD-40. No, basically there was this grease stuff, but no, I don't remember the name.
That is exactly what it was, right? It was tetralabusol. So basically nice. WD-40, or it was like a form of lube, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was the Enterprise porn lube. So then we go on to Tile 81. References to the works of Shakespeare are common in Star Trek. The episode titled Dagger of the Mind refers to a phrase spoken by Macbeth. By any other name calls to mind Juliet's famous turn of a phrase, and Star Trek's character quote Shakespeare regularly throughout the entire series. But no episode draws so heavily on the bard's work as The Conscience of the King. The episode opens with Kirk watching a performance of Macbeth, and savvy viewers soon recognize that the plotline borrows liberally from Hamlet. and even the episode's title suggests. In the play, Shakespeare's melancholy Danish prince used a visiting theater troupe to expose a criminal. Here, actors in the troupe are the ones who were actually guilty of the criminal behavior. For this episode finale, the untethered Lenore delivers the longest Shakespearean speech of the entire series as she leans over her dead father's body. Although she is dressed as Hamlet's Ophelia, Barbara Anderson's performance is pure Lady Macbeth after she's lost her mind, of course. Nichelle Nichols began her career as a singer and a dancer, touring while still a teen with Duke Ellington and later with Lionel Hampton. After segueing into acting, she displayed her vocal talents in the Star Trek episodes The Changeling, Charlie Axe, and The Conscience of the King. Nichols' singing remains an integral part of many personal appearances at Star Trek conventions. She does not, however, play the Vulcan lute in these events, admitting that she doesn't really know how to play it. No matter, her a cappella voice sounds just fine. And that is all the Block Arrowman text has to say about The Conscience of the King. I have some notes, but I'm going to throw it over to you. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Block Arrowman text and maybe your thoughts of this episode. And also you, chat, take it away.
Well, I always love hearing the stuff from that book. I still want to get it. I keep putting it off. I'm sorry, but I love hearing you read from that book. And the episode itself it's a top notcher for me. I've always really, really liked it. I just some of this again, a little bit of Kirk's past, all the stuff with Kodos, things like that. I found it hard to believe that they were that Lenore Caridian was only 19. Jesus Christ, 19 years old in the 60s. Wow. But I don't know. The character.
Yes.
I really do love it though. There are just a lot of great stuff in it. I like some of the stuff between Spock and McCoy. Again, I always like that Spock like immediately anytime and again it's one of the things that just is woven all throughout the show. Anytime Kirk is a little off, anytime Kirk is kind of doing something maybe with his own accord, Spock knows it right there. It's just such a great relationship. And, it culminates into a great scene when basically Spock, Kirk is treating Spock like this is none of his business. And McCoy jumps in. God, I love the Trinity. He jumps in and says, he's doing his job. And you know it, Jim.
Yeah.
Spock was doing his job. Spock automatically put everything together because he's so brilliant to realize that Kirk suspected this man of being Anton Caridian.
Yes.
Pretty flimsy disguise for the guy. Really. It was kind of sussed out pretty easily, but he gotten away with it all this time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a pretty good mystery. So it was good. It was both good and sad now that we know that we're never going to see Riley again, because it was really great to see him. He doesn't get to cut loose and have a lot of fun like he does in The Naked Time. I would love to have seen him as a regular character. Mm-hmm. Getting to see him one more time was kind of cool. Finding out that he was a youngster on you got to be kidding me. Tarsus 4. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hate when we forget the name of planets.
It's okay. It's called stream brain. It happens to me often. Don't worry about it, man. When you're trying to like download every single thing about a television series that ran from 1966, well, actually, technically 1964 to 2005, there are going to be some hiccups where you're going to have to be like, "What was that again? Let me think of that again." It happens.
Yes. And I just it was so a lot of great, again, as usual, great character moments. We learned a little bit about Kirk's past, because when you think about it, even out through the course of the series, we never learn a lot about the past of any of the characters that much, which is fine, by the way, nothing against that, but it's always when you get little bits and pieces. So I just think it's a wonderful story, beautifully acted, especially by, I think we were talking about this earlier. I can't
Arnold Moss.
Arnold Moss, thank you.
He's a Shakespearean actor, and he is a prodigiously gifted, or he was a prodigiously gifted human being, just absolutely outstanding Shakespearean actor, and his performance is masterful here.
Yes, Yeah, so there's a good point Mark C makes. One flaw, I wouldn't necessarily call it a flaw, but I see what you're saying. Star Trek didn't predict DNA, but they can't always know everything. Well, that's why
Yeah.
you look at it through that lens. You go, well, this was not so much the 23rd century at the time, actually 22nd, that got changed to the 23rd. It was the 23rd century of the 1960s.
Yes, exactly. And for that, I mean, it's pushing the boundaries of what is possible when you're thinking about computing, when you're thinking about cell phones, when you're thinking about the internet, when you're thinking about the future of things. This is really peak futurism. And today, all we're seeing is innovation. We're not seeing the type of invention that's happening in TOS. I don't begrudge innovation. I just think that we're at peak innovation now, and we're going to have to stop innovating and start inventing again. So in that sense, Mark with the C is always raising these communications and technology issues. And I absolutely love it because, of course, that's my area of expertise. It's not Eileen, Steve. I love you, though. Unless your wife is named Eileen. It's Kathleen. Because remember, Riley is not even his real last name. It's O'Reilly, right? Because he's an Irishman. And so it's, I'll take you home, Kathleen.
Oops. But Steve, yes, obviously shore leave. They did. I'm not saying they never talked about Kirk's past. I'm just saying it didn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
But no, it's I think, let's say Star Trek had flip phones, yes, in the 60s, pretty true. So much of it was trailblazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Actually,
No
I talk about the invention of the cell phone by Cooper in my master's thesis. So if you want to look up the history of the relationship between Captain Kirk, Gene Roddenberry, and Cooper, the gentleman who invented cell phones, just go and read my master's. You should actually be able to find it in the table of contents, so you won't even have to read the whole master's thesis, which is a book unto itself, but just that one particular segment.
Yes, yeah, and that is true. Mark with a C. They did use voice match, yeah. And that was kind of I thought it was kind of a funny scene where well, I like the opening exchange on the bridge when Kirk knows, of course, that the young lady's going to be coming on, and Spock asks him, "How did you know this young lady was coming aboard the ship?" "I'm the captain." Yeah, there are fun moments between Kirk and Spock. Between Kirk and Spock and Spock and McCoy, as we said. But the confrontation between Kirk and Caridian the first time, always it intrigues me a little bit, because after he has Caridian read the words, or just read these words into the voice thingy, and he reads them. And of course, he doesn't even have to leave. He looks at him for a second. Then he reads it. I guess former Governor Kodos is a little rusty. But when he says, you spoke those words almost like you knew them, like you heard them before. He says, "Well, I learned my parts very quickly." Wait a minute, dude. That's a voice test thingy, and even Kirk wasn't born yesterday. You are so obviously. I mean, at this point, you're Kodos, dude. You're Kodos, dude. We know it. You're not. Why are you even pretending? I guess he knows it. You can see it in his face that he knows it.
But if you're an avid watcher of this, though, too, you realize that Kodos, he's not. He living as Caridian. This man is repentant, and we learn that, of course, in the end.
Yeah.
Because he's a mass murderer. And we also learn in the end, too, that it wasn't quite cut and dry. He seems almost traumatized by the cruelty at which he had to do what he did. And this is because, if the transport ship had have arrived a month earlier, no one would have had to die. And so he acted too quickly, but otherwise he would have been known as of course Kodos says, I would have been known as a hero.
Well, that's what I was getting at. He was pretty much at that point. He was broken. He was given up, and it was almost, because this actor's so terrific in this role. It's almost as if, and then this is just speculation. Obviously, is he was pretty much done. He didn't even care anymore. He was maybe he was relieved in a sense to be discovered, but why was he still sort of putting up a bit of a pretense or a bit of a fight? Because of his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it was a complex scene in that sense. He could have just said, "Yeah, I am," but he's kind of stuck to his guns a little bit because, again, she was the one thing not touched by what he did,
and then it turns out to be genetic
then,
that she's completely unglued and she's also
yes,
We have a comment at 27 minutes past the hour. Mark with the C says Marvel copied Kodos with Thanos. He got rid of half the population to save the rest.
Yeah, they sort of did.
I don't know about Kodos. I took classics in university, but I don't know about Kodos. I've never heard of Kodos in Greek mythology. I do know that Thanos is death. That's what that means. So, what I would love is if somebody in the chat would indulge us and maybe just go in and do a little check on Kodos and see if it's if they've sort of borrowed Greek language to portray that character, or if that character actually exists in Greek mythology, because of course there are hundreds and hundreds of characters in Greek mythology, and I know the major and minor players, but not the super minor players.
Right.
So if you wanted to Google, or DuckDuckGo is where you'll get full privacy, Kodos, you might see that that they had some inspiration coming from Greek mythology and not another IP.
Oh yeah. Again, I don't know that Marvel. Thanos, of course, and obviously he's referring to Thanos in the MCU version of Thanos in the Marvel films.
Mm-hmm. Thanos.
Thanos. Yes. Did I say Thanos?
It's okay. It's okay. This is also why I have difficulty when I'm on these streams, because sometimes my Greek kicks in and sometimes other languages kick in. Like when you all say Athena, you're all very used to it. So I try and fit in with you and I try to say Athena. But you have to remember that when I was a teenage girl, I was adopted by this family and they spoke nothing but Greek. And so I say Athena because that's the way the Greeks say it. So there's no Athena where I come from. It's Athena. And so here we have Thanos, and which is also you can make Athanasios. So that's, it's like a name which means forever life. And then Thanos, of course, meaning it's closely related to death.
Well, I'm sorry, Smart Steve, if I triggered you, buddy. I'm just kidding. They're saying that Thanos is a stupid habit that I picked up from many decades before he was ever in a movie, and I didn't know how to pronounce it. And everyone just said Thanos back then. Yes, they kind of clear that up with the movies when they put him in there. But what I was basically going to say to you on that one, Mark, with a C, is that that Thanos in the friggin' movies is itself not taken exactly from the comic books with all that stupid him wiping on half the population stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they really got that from Kodos or not. I mean, from the Star Trek character of Kodos.
Steve Mitchum, he says, Raquel, Efaristo, and I say back to Steve, Paracalo. I'll just go and see if we have something here from Greek mythology. I will just check very quickly if you wanted to engage the chat. I'll go and check.
Sure. Yeah, have you seen any of the 3 God of War video games? I don't know if she plays video games, but we will ask her, Rod. Let's see. I used to say Athena. Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I'm an imbecile, Steve, but I don't know why. I just said Thanos for some damn reason. And yes, Thanos makes more sense, but Thanos is the way most people just say it. I gotta say Thanos. Hey, Thanos.
Yeah.
Some people just say Josh Brolin.
Yeah, it's totally made up. There is no Kodos. There's no. I see no Kodos in Greek mythology. I see nothing of the sort. There is a Greek god list here. I'm not going to go through it, but yeah. So this basically is an Anglo thing, and there might be some type of connection there. But just for me as a scholar, when I start to see them borrowing from a language, I tend to go and I'm a bit of a bloodhound. I have to go and find out if it has a basis in literature, because of course they borrow very heavily from the Bible. They borrow from Greek mythology. They borrow from Viking mythology and Irish mythology. So we have all these mythologies swimming around in a soup here. So I like to check, but Kodos is not some minor Greek mythology that I'm not aware of. It's just totally made up.
Gotcha. I like it even better now.
Yes, I have played God of War. God of War is one of my favorite video games of all time.
Cool.
GOW is like so great. I cannot talk about how much I love it.
Nice. I didn't know you play video games. Nice. Let's see here. I was always the same thing about with Magneto. I know it's Magneto, but I don't know that. I don't know, that pronunciation always bothered me. And tonight, on things that Mike can't pronounce, apparently, it's because according to Steve Mitchum, I also pronounced Namor incorrectly, according to him. I mispronounced Namor. What do you say, Namor? He's only one of the longest running Marvel characters in history. But okay, now I'm supposed to change Namor to Namor or something like that. How about I just call him Subby?
Yeah, kudos, Chris. Yes, you are correct, sir. That's a celebration, like that's good work or whatever. And we have Steve Mitchum saying, so what you're saying is kudos is not one of the children of a lesser god. Oh, only like that is a total Generation X joke. Wow. Love those jokes. Love those Gen X jokes. Yes. Love that, Steve Mitchum. That is very clever. Very clever. My hat's off to you. And I will give you some kudos, but no kodos.
You. Don't you call me a you. Sorry. Steve will get that one. It's a stupid MASH quote. We quote MASH a lot. Listen here. I'm behind on these. I took a year of ancient Greek history in high school. What's that? Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and for Mark with the C, that's in my notes. Ronald D. Moore has said that this is one of the best Star Trek episodes ever made. Ronald D. Moore loves this episode, and if you're unfamiliar with Ronald D. Moore, he is a pronounced figure in science fiction and science fantasy for authoring the new Battlestar Galactica, and for also being an integral part of DS9. So yeah, Ronald D. Moore. He has he's hot to trot for this particular episode and considers it highly underrated. There are some other things you should know too. There were more scenes than just the one where Grace appeared here. So Grace was supposed to appear in, I believe, 2 or 3 scenes, but she only appears in that one scene when she quickly walks across the bridge. And what else did I put in my notes? Oh, the booze banter betwixt Spock and McCoy. This makes me laugh out loud every single time, even though I watch this episode every year. Also, Mrs. Roper wardrobe alert. Does anybody notice? Looks like Mrs. Roper. Also, yeah, and look at Anderson's cold sore. Like that looks like a planet or a moon. She has like a moon growing on her lip. And when William Shatner goes in for the kiss with her, I'm just like, oh, you're gonna get the big cold sore. And then what else did I say here? Oh, yes. This episode is a beautiful feeling of expert stage acting, the feeling of being present for a stage play with great actors. And that's all I put for this one.
Why is Arden Feliciano assuming I don't know who Ronald D. Moore is? I don't know. Are you assuming that? I mean, I definitely know who he is, friend.
He does.
By the way, Katie Carr, Viking mythology is so interesting. Freya, Odin, Thor. Well, the Vikings have never won the Super Bowl. That's all I got to tell you. But anyway, I'm sorry. Well, sorry's not good enough, boy. Yeah. Airhead, Oral Mango. That's a tribute to Polly. Let's see. I found Ronald D. Moore quote: "I maintain Conscience of the King is deeply underrated Star Trek TOS
Yeah.
episode, and one of the series." Well, hey, I mean, it wouldn't be in my top 10 or 25, but I like it a lot. I don't know if it'll make my 25 now, but yeah, I mean, I like it absolutely. Nay Moore,
Yeah.
the classic. So yeah, I'm just gonna call him Subby now. Does that make you happy, Steve?
But it's also important to remember, like it's also super important to remember for the folks at home that this is a very international experience. So there are times when I listen to British people pronounce things like aluminium instead of aluminum, but when you look back and you look at the actual element aluminium, it's aluminium, it's not aluminum. So it's very important for everybody to remember that there are hundreds of languages present on the internet today, and so you have British, you have American, you have Canadian, you have all of these different languages floating around, and you have all these different pronunciations floating around. So don't be too hard on one another.
With that, we're just screwing with each other. Bust the chops. That's okay. Aaron, dude, I was just messing with you, brother. I know what you mean, man. I was just busting your chops there, buddy. And if they don't pick on me, it means they don't love me. Well, they don't anyway, but
Yeah.
Ron was a genius. He's not anymore. Kidding, Katie. Let's see here. Okay. You bunch of dang smart asses.
I love Rod Thunderheart. Rod Thunderheart is a published author from Alberta, and a super cool guy. If you can find Rod Thunderheart on Twitter, I highly recommend friendship with this clever and fun person. He is right involved with everyone. I know him through Dictor Van Doomcock, and he's such a great person. I just absolutely love hanging out with him. Super funny guy.
Hey, Doomcock. And so, so you're talking about the part with the banter about with a drop of the true for old time's sake.
Oh, the drop of the true, and it's in my glasses, the glasses that I want that cost way too much money that I can't afford.
One day you shall have them.
There are a couple of Americans that are hand blowing those glasses, and there's so much money. They're like, the last time I saw them, they started at $400 American.
Dang. Wow, that's for glasses.
Yeah.
Damn. Growing up overseas for a bit, all British friends, I say many things. The British was like Adidas or
no. He's saying British was like Adidas or aluminium.
Adidas.
Yeah, for rubber boots. I say rubbers and people look at me strange. Yeah, exactly. What's best, Eric, is wellies. Just go for the wellies because at least you're good in Canada and the UK. Yeah, rubbers. Yeah, I don't know. You might get slapped.
I love it when they say aluminium. She is the perfect reflection of the criminally insane. I'm sorry. She believes herself justified in her crimes because everyone else is out to interfere with what she wants, keeping her father from punishment. And how it goes out is done for the night. I'm sorry, Sandra. I ruined your. That
is such a beautiful a synopsis of what is happening with that character. You're not quite sure. Like Sandra raises a very interesting point. You're not sure if this one has snapped her crayons, come unglued, or if she's just like a sociopath. Like you're not quite sure. She hardly seems repentant, and only when McCoy tells us that she's not even sure what happened and still thinks that her father is alive. That's the only time that I really feel sympathy for her. Up until that point, she's just a sociopath with a really big cold sore. Sorry, it's just who I am. Sandra, I love this comment. Thank you so much.
You're so mean.
I know, but I just do it to make people laugh. I'm also mean to myself, though.
Oh, well, you better not be. Just be mean to everybody else. It's easier. Let's see. Clobberin Times, did you follow the Infinity War storyline? If you mean the comic, way back when it first came out, I think I may have tapped out after Infinity Gauntlet. I read some of Infinity War, but you know how much of that stuff there is. Put it to you like this: back when Infinity War, the film came out a couple years back, they did a gigantic gift set compilation, all in one big gigantic. it was 3 feet long, and it was like $600. So I haven't read all of it because at that time I was really aggravated with Marvel, but a lot of it, yes, sir. If you are referring to the comic, and I assume you are because the movie's one movie. So.
Sandra says, laughing out loud, I work in the prison system. Wow, Sandra, I actually thought you were a nurse or a doctor. I know that you've served, but yeah, I thought you've served in the military. I believe you've served your country. But yeah, that is shocking that you work in the prison system, only because this entire time that I've known you for like, I don't know, a year from Doomcock, Friday Night Frolics, I've always thought that I thought you were one of those nurses who had like their PhD in nursing, which is a doctorate in nursing, or I thought you were a doctor. So it's so cool that you work in the prison system. So I hate to ask you this, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Are you a guard? I'm a nurse consultant for a state prison. Oh, so I was right, because I can tell by the way you talk how educated you are. I knew you were a nurse. I knew it. I knew you had a medical background. Yay! I was guessing. You see, I pay attention to my friends. I have a master's in nursing. Good. Okay. So I totally got you right. So are you ever going to finish your PhD? You should do your PhD. Lady, you are brilliant. I love you, Sandra. You should do your PhD. And then I'll call you Dr. Sandra. When I finish my PhD, I want you all to call me Doc Rock. The only reason why I haven't finished mine yet is because I don't have the money for it. I have to have $84,000 to defend my dissertation. I'm taking donations. No, I'm kidding. No, actually, I am.
Oh my goodness. I have a master's in. I'm not going to finish that joke. Mom. Let's see here. Well, Katie, I'm going to let you off the hook because you're so nice. Or should I? I don't know. Should we nail it to the wall? Katie?
What'd she say?
Katie says she was asking Roman 1701, have you seen Star Wars? I haven't. Katie's not seen Star Wars.
Good girl. I want you to watch the first 3 movies and then stop. Yes. That's all I want. Watch the first 3 movies and then don't watch anything else. I don't care what anybody tells you about Ewoks or any crap after that. Just the first 3 movies so that we can keep your beautiful mind pristine, because you're honey, all of our faith is in you. If you get spoiled, we're destroyed.
Yes, watch the original. If you were anybody else, we'd be ragging on you big time. But you're such a nice person. We'll let you slide. If been one of these other schlubs in the chat, though, I'd be tearing them to pieces right now. But yes, seriously, Katie. Yes, you should. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, you may get into it, you may not. But I can't even imagine what it would be like to see those for the first time again, and then not watch any other thing ever with that name on it. So yeah, just watch. I don't agree with Steve Mitchum. Watch the first movie for sure, but then, and he means 1977, and then watch the greatest movie of all time, The Empire Strikes Back, and then watch Return of the Jedi, just so you'll know what happens. And after that, stop.
And then just stop.
Yes.
And then you will know everything you need to know about Star Wars.
That's the fact, Jack. Absolutely. It's too bad you cannot still watch the original before George. Well, you can. There are ways. I mean, if you haven't watched it ever, watching the special editions won't be that big of a deal. But you can watch the originals and the original theatricals. There are ways. I have them.
Steve Mitchum, just watch the first one.
Wrong.
Stop after the first one. Steve says 48 minutes past the hour at Katie Carr. Just watch the first movie. No, sir. His favorite's the first one, which is fine. I respect that. I love the first one, but Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie of all time. I saw them all in the theater. I lined up for all of them in the theater, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. I never, ever liked them as much as I liked Star Trek, but because I'm a nerd more than a geek, and as you all well know, a nerd is more academic and scholarly, and so they lean more towards science and academics. And then geeks are people who know a boatload about popular culture and film and comic books, and they not only love science fiction, but they also love science fantasy. So I never really got into Star Wars, but I will tell you one thing. The first 3 movies were amazing, and I watched them more than once in the theater, and I had a wonderful time. But I wouldn't watch anything after that because it's all garbage.
Steve Bishop, now you're the one mispronouncing things because you just called The Empire Strikes Back lame. That means you'd mispronounce it. You meant it's brilliant and greatest movie of all time. But there's no problem correcting you, buddy. You can't be right about everything. Life would be boring for you that way. Do we have any more to go on Conscious of the King, or should we give everyone our final episode for this evening?
What did I say? Yeah, beautiful feeling. Mrs. Roper wardrobe, big cold sore, booze banter. Grace's scene was cut. Ronald D. Moore loves it. Nope, that's all I got. Unless anybody in the chat, speak now or forever hold your peace. And don't hold your pieces, just your peace.
Or your Reese's Pieces. So, what is that last one again? I forgot already. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Yes, okay. Galileo, that's right.
Yeah, Galileo 7.
Okay, so everyone, we were ready for a final episode of this evening. If you're ready.
Yeah.
I drop the truth for time's sake.
Oh, the chat is asking us to give marks out. So Conscience of the King, for its blatant hero worship of Shakespeare, I am giving it a solid A, especially for the performances. I'm going to go ahead and give it an A, Smart Steve. And then I'm going to turn it over to Mike ask Mike Scuba Pete's giving it a B+. Could we get the Felicianos ringing in here? What grade are you giving this one, Mike?
I give this one a B. It's a B episode. And if anyone thinks that's too rough on it, remember there are 79 episodes. Well, 78 if you count a 2-parter. But I like it a lot, but there are a lot of episodes I love far, far, far more. So believe me, when I give something a B, or if you wanted to go the old 1 to 10, whatever you prefer, like on the 1 to 10er, I would give it like maybe a 7.5 to an 8.
Okay.
That means I like it a lot. So
okay,
we got a lot of. Let's see here. We got a lot of. There's a 7.
Got lots of B's. We've got the Felicianos coming in.
A-.
Yeah, Alpha Omega, and in Greek that means the beginning and the end, if you want to know what that person's name means.
That's
and he's given it, or he or she has given it an 8 out of 10. Mark with the C's gone ahead and given it a B.
And an A. Mark with the C. Oh, yeah, okay. Right, sorry, you're right. Sorry. I meant Mark C. He gave it.
Mark C gave it an A-. Yeah, I'm in that neighborhood too, just because I think it's really courageous to bring Shakespeare to the masses and adapt it the way that it was done. I think it's very cerebral. It's very courageous. And I also think that it's important. I think that it's important that we find ways of unpacking these abstractions that most people don't want to deal with, or they find the language too ornate. So that's one of the reasons why I appreciate it. So the probably the geeks are kind of like, meh, this doesn't pass the sniff test. But a nerd, it's like nerds are kind of like, yeah, well, I'm good with this because Shakespeare. So this is, you could file this under because Shakespeare for me.
Steve, you crack me up, dude. Well, yeah. So we got some. It's again a fairly high rated episode. We should have thought about doing that for the other episodes. Oh well, we'll do it on the next one. It'll be a new thing with us now.
Yeah.
So as you go along, you learn different fun things to do.
Yes, I always love my chat. I'm really guilty of that. Like I derail the Pegasus actual podcast on the regular because I just love the chat so much. Like that,
yes,
the conversation and the wealth of knowledge in our community. It's like every single time you have a cast or every single time you have a stream, for me, it's like this great conversation with really, really smart and wonderful people. So I love to take advantage of it. Sorry for derailing the cause.
I talk to the chat all the time. A lot of fun with the chat. I always have. Brett Cohen, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it. And now it says later, peeps. So, you're heading out, Brett? Okay. Well, we got one more episode to do, but thank you we appreciate you stopping in. Thank you so much.
So sorry to see you leaving so soon. Well, we've only got one episode left, Brett Cohen, but
Yes,
we look forward to seeing you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time.
indeed.
And we're going to be doing this for the whole year. So we're going to go all the way from 1966 to 205, so 2005. So well, I hope to see you every Saturday, Brett.
And well, indeed, yes, Brett. Thank you for stopping, and we appreciate it. But definitely a B plus. Love the episode. Worlds may change, galaxies disintegrate, but a woman always remains a woman. Clearly haven't visited 2020. Sorry, just kidding. I don't know where I'm saying that for. Okay, well, Galileo 7, go for it, my friend.
All right, Galileo 7, Season 1, Episode 16. Excuse me, Prod Code 14. So this is the 14th episode to be produced by these wonderful human beings. When we go to the block text, we're on the 83rd, 84th tile. En route to Makkas 3, the Enterprise passes the beautiful and dangerous quasar-like formation known as the Murasaki 312. Oh my goodness, isn't that the most beautiful thing you've ever seen on screen? If I could please ask Mike Clobberin, would you please put the quasar formation up there, because it's one of the most beautiful quasar formations I've ever seen in my life. Just, it's mesmerizing. Anyway, since the Enterprise has standing orders to investigate all cosmic phenomena of the Murasaki type, Kirk decides to launch a manned shuttle into the formation. Galactic High Commissioner Ferris is infuriated by Kirk's action. The Enterprise is carrying emergency medical supplies to Makkas, and from there, they are to be transferred to the plague-ridden New Paris colonies. But Kirk reminds Ferris that the rendezvous won't take place for 5 days, and Makkas 3 is only 3 days away. In short, there's time. However, the simple research mission goes horribly wrong. The radiation in the Murasaki 312 affects the shuttlecraft Galileo's controls, and a small ship carrying Spock, McCoy, and 5 others crashes on Tarsus 2. An unexplored planet within the quasar. With the Enterprise's sensors blinded by the same radiation, Kirk can't even begin to guess where to start looking for his crew. Suddenly, that cushion of time available before the Enterprise is due at Makkas 3 is looking very thin, and Ferris is pushing Kirk very hard. Tile 84 from the block text. The Galileo shuttlecraft owes its existence to a plastic model-making company called AMT, one of the very first Star Trek licensees. In 1966, AMT, excited by the early footage of the soon-to-debut television series, acquired the merchandising rights to manufacture and market a scale plastic kit of the USS Enterprise. The company later would produce models of a Klingon battlecruiser, the Romulan bird of prey, and Galileo. In fact, AMT not only manufactured the Galileo shuttlecraft model, but the company also constructed the life-size Galileo exterior and interior seen on the set of the Galileo 7, and, of course, other episodes. Reportedly, one of the terms of the deal was the studio. It was a particularly sweet arrangement for the series' producers. It was a full-scale model that the actors could just walk in and talk in, explains co-producer Robert Justman. All it cost us was the expense to truck it from Arizona to the set in Los Angeles. And Block is saying here that this is the rumor. I can definitely tell you that through cross-referencing different Star Trek books in my library. This is confirmed. It's not rumor. We'll go to the 85 tile now. Spock receives a harsh but useful lesson in leadership, the Galileo 7. Typically, he's an exemplary first officer, prepared to give the captain insightful, rational advice on all matters, scientific or not. On board the Enterprise, that advice is sometimes tempered by Dr. McCoy's emotional counterpoints. But in this situation, as the highest-ranking officer on the shuttlecraft, Spock must make his own decisions, without obligation to consider the opinions of McCoy or the majority. His charges on the ill-fated Galileo shuttlecraft seem to resent his ultra-logical approach from the start, but they grudgingly accept their superiors' decisions, some good and some not so good. I find it very odd here, as an author and as a person who teaches linguistics and in English, that the person decided to use charges here. It's usually it carries the accumulative connotation of a minor. That's also why I had to reread the sentence. I would not call another adult a charge. A charge is usually, like I said, a cumulative connotation of a ward or of a minor child. Not exclusively, but certainly in a cumulative connotation. So don't go calling other adults your charge. Yikes. Talk about bad management. They're going to write some memes about you. Anyways, McCoy even has the grace to compliment Spock on making the right call in the nick of time. But this doesn't mean that the two men will never butt heads again. It's safe to predict that viewers will find Spock and McCoy at odds in any random episode in which Kirk is missing in action or presumed dead, such as the Tholian Web, Arena, Bread and Circuses, and several others. And that is all the blocked text has to say about this episode. And I have about a half a page of notes as per usual, but I would like to stop talking and turn it over to Mike. And Mike, what are your thoughts about this episode? And certainly the chat. What do you think about the block Arrowman text here? Did you like the coverage? Do you take umbrage with anything that was said? What are your ideas?
I love this episode. I mean, this is one of certainly. I mean, if it's not in my top 10, it's damn close. It's damn close. I mean, I really do appreciate everything about it. I love the fact that we get. I know it's Spock's quote unquote first command. I mean, as it is portrayed as such, the stuff not just between Spock and McCoy, but really. Every Spock and the other people that, of course, that are new to the episode, Mr. Boma in particular. I'm forgetting his name. The gentleman, he was also not too long after that. He was on Land of the Giants, the actor that plays Mr. Boma. So God, I should remember his name. Good actor.
Mr. Boma is Don Marshall.
Don Marshall, thank you.
Yep.
Excellent actor.
I love him.
Yeah, and he's really good in this. You know, obviously he's pretty insubordinate.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is insubordination. It's insubordination. Yeah. It's just absolutely terrible. Dee Myers just walked in the room.
Dee Myers, welcome. Thank you for popping in. We appreciate that. This is truly one of the greats, though. And again, it's something that Star Trek always did so well. Is split its story in two, really. You have, of course, your B story, your A story. What's wrong with me? Your A story, of course, the Galileo itself, crash landing on the planet. And but all the interaction between Kirk and was it Governor Ferris, whatever he was? Ferris.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Another actor I've seen in a lot of things. Of course, most of those people that play incidental one-time off roles in Trek. I love the stuff between the two of them. How Kirk just does not like having a bureaucrat on his bridge. It's just some of that stuff between those two is really, really is.
Well, some of his behavior is completely inappropriate, right? Like he keeps pushing him to leave people behind, and we all know that that's not a Kirk's way. And it's also important to remember that Kirk is a pile of books with legs, as he has been described. So that I think that's why he butts heads with superiors, is because he is of superior intellect. He is well versed in philosophy and in law, and so in many ways he ought to be a commissioner himself or an admiral. So yeah, I don't think he likes to be pressed, and of course the pressing is inappropriate here. But yeah, but of course this is the first time we hear needs of the many. And that's the resounding filament, the golden filament of this episode, as the Enterprise is struggling with the needs of the many, and then of course Spock is also, the Galileo is also struggling with the needs of the many, outweighing the needs of the few. So that's the golden filament, and I don't think that Kirk takes too kindly to somebody saying, no, we're going to leave some people behind. He'd rather save everybody.
Yeah. And again, Kirk does have an obligation to the governor or whatever, or what's he, governor, high commissioner.
No,
Commissioner.
let me explain that. So first of all, the term a galactic high commissioner,
Right.
that we call him that because the United Federation of Planets hasn't been invented yet, right? That's not for 2 more years. In Lan of Troyes, in 1968, that's when they switch it over to a Federation high commissioner, and that's because, of course, we have the Federation at that point, right?
Yes, but I saw it, and I'm sorry.
Galactic High Commissioner, yeah.
I just drew a blank on his title for some reason.
No, that's okay. No problem at all.
But anyway, he's not entirely wrong. I mean, the Enterprise has the responsibility to those people who need the plague victims.
Yes,
and but at the same time, we know Kirk. He cannot leave them behind, or he certainly has got to do everything he can possibly to find them out there in that just, ridiculous amount of space and
I beg your pardon.
No time.
I beg your pardon. Please excuse the interruption, but I believe that Roman 1701 would like to say goodnight to you.
Oh, let's see. Roman, where you at? Oh,
6 minutes after the hour.
I gotcha. I gotta go, guys. Thank you for once again. Hey, Roman, thank you. Have a great rest of the night. Live long and perspire to you as well, Roman 1701. We really, really appreciate you for coming by. It's nice to meet you. We hope you will visit us again. Thank you so much.
Good night, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It's really great to have you. I hope to see you next Saturday.
Absolutely. Spock, this is a standout episode for Nimoy, of course. But it's really, again, sometimes when an episode is just a standout for one character, the other characters shine as well. You got a lot of good exchanges with him and McCoy. Kirk has his own little story going on the bridge with the commissioner. I love all of that stuff. I'm trying again. I always draw a blank when we get to this part for some reason. I don't know what it is. I always forget all the stuff I love about it till like later when we're thinking about it. Like, oh man, I forgot to mention that. I forgot to mention this. But Mr. Boma,
yeah.
Again, a good character, and really, obviously the other characters, Gaetano, and oh god, whatever the other kid's name who end up getting getting killed.
Yeah,
are they don't get to do much, but even they're actually fairly well handled in this episode. So yeah. I don't know. I just think this is one of the best ones. This is a top-notch episode that really establishes the character of Spock. It's a leap for the character of Spock in some ways, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
But well, I really like this episode. One of the things that I love about this episode is that we finally get the Galileo, and I think it's just amazing that people came forward and said, "Look, let's strike up a deal. We'll build this thing for you if you'll give us the right to the toys." And just absolute stroke of genius. And you have to see this struggling manifestation of Gene Roddenberry's goodness. He doesn't have Marlboro backing him. He doesn't have cigarettes backing him. I can't think of American names of cigarettes, only Canadians, but there's no Belvedere Extra Mild or Matinee Extra Mild Slims here. So I just think it's incredible that we finally get a shuttlecraft. And that's really awesome. Another thing I really love about this episode is Uhura replaces Spock as science officer, and she does it seamlessly. And also the fact that Nichelle Nichols is second in command. She's second in command for the whole episode. This is great. The one thing that I don't like about this episode is this episode was written for Rand. This was Grace Lee Whitley again, Whitney, I mean, and but by this time, Grace's firing has fully taken place, and so they just changed in the name and put Yeoman Mears to replace her. So it's a little sad for me going forward on that, because of course you already know how I feel about Grace. So lots of great stuff happening here, and yeah, barring the insubordination. I thought the insubordination was a little ridiculous, and I thought it was a little racist. I thought they were being racist towards Spock, and I think that his pragmatism was needed. I'm also a little bit cheesed that they're the ones who put forth the idea of how to do things, and then when he takes their advice, then he later has to suffer for the decision that he made, as though he made the decision on his own. So yeah, lots of juicy, good stuff here. Lots to talk about, lots to sink your teeth into, lots of in-text information, lots of external stuff about the text and the production. So yeah, great episode. Love Galileo 7.
By the way, Smart Steve, I'm sorry, buddy, but no red shirts died in this episode. They were not wearing red shirts. No. Yes, and again, some of again, great character stuff in this one. No, I like Bulma. I'm just saying, yeah, he got a little out of hand, and
Bulma is an amazing character, and he's breaking barriers here, and is an amazing actor, especially given the time frame. Right, the original air date on this is 1967, and they still are saying that they don't want to have people of color on television in these roles. So Bulma, Don Marshall is busting barriers here, and he's a wonderful actor, and he defends humanity so wonderfully. But I think it's a lesson on racism, and showing that now humanity is united, and now it has a new enemy, this alien, Mr. Spock, and he just doesn't feel enough. They should all go outside and be stabbed to death, so long as somebody gets buried. It just you know what I'm saying? Like that's right. The way Gene was. Gene was no dummy, and he loved to play with these ideas and get us really thinking about the fact that all of our blood runs red. And when we meet somebody with green blood, that's when a different kind of dumb will kick in. But we should all be united. So there are different layers of wonderfulness happening here, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate it immensely. Not to mention the fact that I think that Don Marshall is ridiculously handsome. This is like one of the best looking guys in Star Trek.
He was really, really good on Land of the Giants, which was right after this. And then again, kudos to Irwin Allen, just like Gene did. And Irwin Allen brings in a recurring, and this was a recurring black character that was just as important as the other. I don't know if you've ever seen the show. He was just as important as every other character on the show. He was one of the main heroes on the show, and got a lot to do for that time. So, Irwin Allen, maybe he was learning from Gene. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that would be lovely to hear, because that would be, Martin Luther King could be seen giving the Vulcan salute. So just knowing that love was spreading through the civil rights movement and changing society and changing our culture, that works for me. But growing up in the 70s, I pretty much thought that Don Marshall may have been one of the most handsome men on television. I think that he is astonishingly good-looking man. If you're a woman and you have a pulse, you recognize how hot this guy is. He's just Donald James Marshall. He's a looker. Very, very good actor, and just very, very compelling hero type person saying, look, we're going to bury these guys. He's fearless. And when you're a young woman, he's a handsome hero guy.
I didn't see him again till one episode of Buck Rogers, but later. But other than that, I haven't seen him in that much. But then, of course, not too long ago, unfortunately, he did pass. Mark, let's see. Contrast this with Balance of Terror. Spock agrees the logical course of action is to destroy the Romulan ship down. Spock doesn't want to take a life, even though it's But see, well, now he's in charge. Now he's in command in the mission.
Well, yeah, but it's also too, though, different. Mark. But Mark, with this is you're getting into a weird area here, sir. Because you also have to remember that Romulans, once he has recognized that they may share ancestors here. Now he feels ashamed because he does not like this violence. Remember, Vulcanians, they really struggled with violence. So now what he's seeing is the worst of his own kind. So he's trying to rationalize how to deal with these irrational minds, the very worst of his kind. And remember, Vulcanians described themselves back when they were united with their Romulan brothers and sisters as one race. Remember him describing what we did on Earth to one another as, mere child's play compared to the violence and savage behavior of the Vulcanians before they found logic. So I can definitely see Spock coming forward saying, look, we need to deal with these Romulans, and we have to be heavy-handed because these are Vulcans in their savage minds. These are illogical, untamed Vulcans, and they're dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't see a contradiction there, Mark, with Steve, for this reason. Basically, it's a lot of what Raquel just said. The thing is, the Romulans are a gigantic, cosmic force that threatens the galaxy. At this point, we didn't really know what these creatures were. They were just other life forms. The Federation has rules. And he was like, well, we have our obligation to other life forms, friendly or not. He didn't, it's not like there were a million of them coming out of him or anything like that. He didn't know. He wasn't sure. And another thing, it's his first command and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Spock makes mistakes in this episode a little bit. He underestimates what McCoy has to point out, that anyone with feeling would have understood that that they might react emotionally, and Spock didn't think about that. And that's so Spock's not perfect anyway. But no, there's no real contradiction, I don't think, with this and what happened in Balance of Terra. He realized that the galaxy was at threat if the Romulans attacked. This was a small group of people. He knew. We knew a lot about Romulans, even though didn't know everything about them. He didn't really know what these creatures were, the kind of threat. They learned it. They learned the hard way.
Yeah.
But he wasn't 14
sure. 14-foot cavemen.
Right. But at first, they didn't know that. And they didn't know exactly what was going to happen. So he was just going by the basic, the rule of the Federation book. Well, we have to respect other life forms, whether they're friendly or not. We're going to do what we can to uphold our principles. But obviously, if we have to defend ourselves. And again, Spock kind of made a bit of a mistake.
Yeah. Well, it's also the breach of the Trinity, and we're supposed to always have that Trinity. And so when the Trinity is broken, the sanctity of the decision making is broken. And so we're supposed to see the error in being completely logic driven. And so we have to recognize the passions of Dr. McCoy, but we also have to understand this temperance, this balancing force that Kirk is. And so I think it's trying to get into several issues, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of your boy, the great, and because I always really liked Don Marshall. Don Marshall said in an interview that it meant the world to him that the color of Lieutenant Bulma's skin made no difference in the scheme of the episode. That is, I love that.
It also doesn't hurt that Bulma looked like that Marshall looked like Lenny Kravitz. Like, the guy was ridiculously gorgeous.
He said that in the interview too. He said, "Everyone, I am ridiculously gorgeous."
Yeah, like the guy's that guy is a tall glass of water.
What he did say about that, about that, not the skin not mattering, and I love that. What he said that was beautiful. Marshall said that was Gene Roddenberry, and I'd worked for him once before. I did an episode of Lieutenant. Oh, okay, I didn't know he was on an episode. That's the way the guy was. He didn't see color. Thank you. Boy,
That's
we need
beautiful.
that in 2020.
I just absolutely love that. But it also didn't hurt that Marshall, had he been for this generation, would have been an international sex symbol. He is just absolutely outstandingly good looking.
Yes, Mark, with the sea, I mentioned that earlier, that he was on Land of the Giants, and he was great on there.
Yeah.
I love that show.
And once again, too, I also really like that Marshall is the hero here, standing up for humanity's. Where's your compassion, man? He's trying to compassionate the Vulcan mind and stand up for all of humanity and be an example of what a good human being is. And an example of a good human being is we don't just leave our dead face down in the sand and hightail it when some 14-foot aliens kill us, right? So, and incidentally, I've read in several books, and I don't know which books they are, but I will find them for you if you ask me. In the makeup test, the aliens for this, like the 14-foot giants, did you know that when they did close-ups of them, that they were so scary that they decided not to do any close-ups on them because they thought they would get into trouble because the episode would be too scary?
Oh, well, and Land of the Giants was around the same time. Yeah, by the way, Mark C, I got you, brother. I mean, I see what you did there, buddy, just so you'll know.
Yes, Steve Mitchum, Lenny Kravitz is good looking. He's actually known as an international sex symbol all over the world. He's women really, really like him. He makes a lot of women's motors hum. He's something else.
Mark C, once again, Mark C presuming something that, dude, you do that to me all the time. You presume I don't get something when never mind. Dude, what am I gonna do with you, man? God, nobody gets me. All right. We had Sandra wanted to say something. Let's see. Another viewpoint is that a cop he knew and don't leave your buddy.
Yeah.
Cop he knew and don't leave your buddy behind. Bulma was expressing that human conviction. Spock was looking at the survival of his command through the lens of logic. That's absolutely right. Yes.
1000% agree. That's exactly my thoughts and my feelings. Exactly, Sandra.
I think that Ivan Dixon was the first African-American actor in an in-sub role in Hogan's Heroes. I don't know if he was the first. I think that's probably right. Aaron Feliciano.
Not sure.
I know he was also a director. He did a lot of directing as after he left Hogan's Heroes. I know that much.
Yeah.
So Mark with Mark will balance a tear of the Romulan theme. Oh, okay. Yep. It is. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Want. But I'm going to issue anyway.
Yes, Mr. Feliciano.
I totally messed him up.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying when we can, I would love to get to Raymond's comment before we change the subject of what we're talking about, because at 21 minutes past the hour, he said something really important.
Clobberin times of Raquel. I also believe that it was a bit of a contradiction because Starfleet had the basis of the USMC and Marines never left their buddies behind.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Spock, I hear you.
Yeah, and for you folks at home, Sandra is married to this wonderful man. So could you imagine hanging out with these two? Like, I wish that I lived near the Felicianos. So here they are on this podcast, and Sandra has all of these thoughts on this episode, and then her husband has all these thoughts on the episode, and these two are just interacting and adding all this brilliant spice to our podcast. So you guys are great. You guys are the dream team. Love you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally think the same thing, right? It's there's so much in play here. This is a very, very complex episode, and the writing here is just fabulous. These are not simple issues, and these are dynamic thoughts coming from dynamic places that expand your reasoning, your rationale, and help you to question what you would do, what you would think, how you would feel, where your mind would be going. So it's one of those really engaging texts. This is a really engaging episode. I just love it. And I love how evocative it is that it can bring out all of these things and these feelings in all of us as fans.
Indeedishness. I love the stuff at the end when Kirk basically, or toward the end rather, where Kirk basically realizes it's time to go. He has his job. He has his obligation. He's got to leave some of his best friends behind, and it's killing him. It's killing him, but he's a captain. You know,
Yep.
he's Captain Starfleet's got to do it. But then he's going to just go ahead and cheat anyway. Screw it, because Kirk likes to cheat sometimes, and basically take us on our take us out, Mr. Sulu. Take us to our space normal speed. Space normal speed.
Yep.
You heard me, Mr. Sulu. It's like just we're going. We're in the right direction. We're just going to creep on a little bit, you know. And by the way, they also mentioned the Columbia, the other shuttlecraft in that episode. Can't remember the remastered. I think they showed the Columbia as well. Wrong. Can't remember now, because that's the way I roll. I don't remember stuff.
I'm not sure. I watch the old I watch the old version. I like seeing dirt on the lens. I like it when they use Vaseline to make the women's complexion look better than it is. I like the old stuff, but that's also because I grew up with the black and white television. So even seeing it in color is a huge thing for me.
Does the lettering on the shuttlecraft mean the 7th one stored on the ship? Seems quite high. I played. I don't know.
But yeah, that would be my guess. It's either of 7 of that model, maybe, or 7 in a fleet of 7, maybe a fleet of 10. Remember, this is a lot of world building, so the number, pushing the number to the maximum amount would mean inflecting that into the text. So this is Gene flexing his world building muscles by saying, yeah, we have shuttlecrafts. We got lots of shuttlecrafts. Nope, the 7 was the number of crew on the shuttle. Oh, so it could fit 7 people. Sure.
Yeah,
but there was more than one. Yeah. There was more than one. And if anybody could get a picture of the Galileo, could we see if the Galileo has the 76524 on the side of it and make sure that is correct? Not that I doubt you, Steve. It's just usually when there's a call number on the side of a ship, it's not a capacity. You know what I mean?
Mark with the C, interesting. This show was a take on the Lucille Ball movie 5 Came Back. Now, I don't think I've seen the film. If I had, it's been a long time ago. So I don't know, man. Thank you for that. I did not know. I know there have been some, we talked last week about Balance of Terror, and that was how that was based on The Enemy Below. So
I knew you were guessing, because you don't just put the passenger capacity on the side of a shuttlecraft. But I like how well you're able to just completely BS. You would be good at poker.
Such a great scene on the shuttle, right when Spock is when they all basically think they're about to burn up, and they need what little is left of the fuel reserves to at least have any chance to make it a kind of a soft landing. And then Spock's just sitting there, and God, it's such a good scene.
Yeah,
I for one do not believe in angels. And when Spock just ignites the fuel, boom, and it sends and Scotty eventually figured out sending up a flare. It was a good gamble, Mr. Spock. He said, no one out there to see it. And it was McCoy tells him, well, something about it may not have been I forgot what it said, something about but it was all human or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he applauds him for taking a risk, a calculated risk like that, even though there was no what McCoy is trying to get at is that he would have had to engage the part of him that is human, because he was hopeful. Instead of being logical, he was hopeful. So the long and short of it is that he did learn his lesson, right? So and in that way, that makes him even more logical, because he learned his lesson.
Yep. Well, then we have one of the most fun scenes ever in Star Trek, when they're back on the ship, and they're back on the bridge, and basically, everybody's talking behind Spock's back. I wonder if Spock put Boma on report. It sounds like a logical thing to do. What if Boma got reamed out by Kirk later?
Yeah, but everybody was insubordinate. Everyone was insubordinate. And even Scotty, when they're working on the fuel cell in the floor, even Scotty gets a little snippy. Everybody is insubordinate.
A little bit, but at least Scotty and McCoy stick up for Spock when Bowman gets way out of line. But anyway, I was just kidding. I don't know. Well, if Spock reports everything that happens, and he did, he didn't make anything up or leave anything out. Kirk's going to read that, and I wonder if Kirk, had a few words with him. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I don't care.
Oh,
Just
Sandra's popped in here and she says using Memory Alpha as a source. So it may or may not be true. I love that she said using Memory Alpha as a source. Love you, Sandra, because we've had a few gremlins working in our Memory Alpha these days. So brilliant that Sandra brought that up. And she has affirmed what I said earlier, that it is the model. The iteration, yeah. So, evidently 6 of them were destroyed, or there were 6 prototypes before it, or maybe 5 prototypes, and one that, So, yeah.
There you go. Thanks, Mark with the C. Man, Mark with the C. I hate when I drop blanks on that. It may be the last action you'll ever take, Mr. Spock, but it was all human. And then he says there was no chance. Man. Thank you, buddy. Man. I'm just to be better with quotes. So they're on the bridge, and everyone's, basically Kirk has been informed about everything. And when he goes, Kirk just can't help it. First of all, he's so pleased to have his friends, but he thought he was lost. He's pretty happy about that and pretty relieved. But still, he's got to mess with Spock. Why not? He's Kirk. He's got to mess with Spock. That's just what you do. So I just love the exchange when he asks him, why he did what he did, or whatever. And he says, so basically you reasoned that it was time for an emotional outburst. Well, I wouldn't put it in quite those terms, Captain, but those are basically the facts.
Yeah.
So you're not going to admit that the first time in your life,
Too stubborn.
Yeah. Mr. Spock, you're a very stubborn man.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And then you had the big kind of typical old time TV people laughing their asses off at the end credit.
It is really old timey, especially because they have that little pause and then they all join in. So it's like it's the old timey 1940s, 1950s.
Right.
It's like, and everyone's doing it. So it's just like, yeah, guys, it wasn't that funny. But
a little bit over top.
Yeah, it's cute. But it's cute because, of course, they're trying to humanize Spock because they're going to continually build this character up to be an automaton, right? As far as emotion goes, as the character gets stronger, he's going to become less and less engaged with his emotions. He's going to become less human and embrace more of his Vulcanian. So we have this huge dichotomy, and so we want to play that up to the maximum, how much he betrays his Vulcanian instincts and even his human instincts, fluctuating back and forth, and humans do that too. We really struggle to be rational. We really struggle to stay calm. Sometimes we lose our temper. Sometimes we don't think things through. So it's very nicely played with this character, and of course that's why he winds up being one of the most important, if not the most important character in all of Star Trek.
Well, absolutely. Do you have any final thoughts or notes or anything before we put down to judgment, as I say?
Yeah, let's put it out to judgment. First, I'd like to put it to the chat. Guys, tell me what you think. What are you giving this? Are you giving it an A, a B, a C? Is this a D minus? What is this for you? What are you guys thinking? And Mike, I'm going to let you go ahead and give your evaluation. Professor Star Trek, Professor Clobberin, what would you give this mark?
You're the professor here. Tonight I can barely remember a damn thing. Let's see here. This is easily an A episode for me. Like I said, it's been many years now since my buddy Flash and I did our top 25 list, so I would probably have to revise that and look at it again. So, but it was up there. If it's not in my top 10, it's very close. So, I mean, I really, really just love it so much. I've watched it so many times. It's an A easily for me. A, maybe almost an A. Well, an A plus or something like that. Or if you're going to use the 1 to 10 scale, everyone use whatever you want. It would be a close to a 10, or it'd be like a 9.5 or something. So,
okay,
A at least. Let's see here. Steve Bitcham. No, we're off. We got a Steve Benjamin with an A plus. Then we got. No, I'm not. I can't be cocktail.
I'm going to go ahead and say that because this is the first episode that ever focused on Spock instead of Kirk, for that reason alone, it's getting an A plus for me because I want to know more about this character. I'm thinking back when I was a kid, watching this for the first time and thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to learn more about this Mr. Spock. I'm going to learn more about this Vulcanian. I'm so excited. And this is where I think people really started to feel connected with Leonard Nimoy's portrayal of this character. So yeah, I'm going to say A plus for me.
RN, that's an interesting rating. A B plus because of the death. There were a couple of deaths.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where you're coming from that, but I understand you. I hear you, man. Okay, let's see. Now, Mark C. Excuse me, not Mark C, but Mark with a C. Mark with a C. Wow, he's an A triple plus.
Mm-hmm. It's really a barrier breaking episode. Like, I want you to think about this, folks, how important this episode is for women, how important this episode is for civil rights, for society in general. A lot of stuff's happening here. Like, seriously, like Uhura, you guys, this is really an important episode. Uhura becomes the science officer here. It's crazy. She's second in command for the whole episode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, and if they don't make it back to the ship, Kurt's got to go get a whole new command crew.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your ratings. They're all excellent. And you know what? Every single one of them is a well thought out evaluation. And you have made excellent arguments and thoughts and tidbits to the chat on how you feel about this episode and what was happening with it. I think it's great.
Yeah. And I love you all for that. Thank you all for rating. And anybody else who has not weighed in with a rating, please do so.
Yeah. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Indeedishness. Anyone who has not rated it yet, if you have an opinion. Let's see here.
Yes, Martin. Yes, exactly. Right. It's a good one. Like, it's going in lots of different directions. There's a lot of ground to cover here. That's also why it gets such a high rating for me. There are a lot of in-text issues and external text issues that are happening here that just make this wonderful. I mean, who wouldn't love the first appearance of a shuttle? Now when we're thinking about plot holes, now we can actually start to be more honest with the canon. We can be more honest with the IP because now, of course, we have shuttlecraft before, anyway, lots of stuff happening here.
Katie Carr says, sign off. Thank you both. Thank you, Katie, for being here as always. Thank everyone for being here. We
love you, Katie. And get back to studying. Get your nose in those books, girl. Katie just made the dean's list. Katie,
nice.
You get your buns into your nose into your books, and we will see you next Saturday. Also, if you're out and about and you would like to learn a little bit about Voyager, I will tell you right now, Katie Carr is a chronic Voyager fan, and she has a blog. So please check it out.
Absolutely, everyone. Let's see here, Rod Thunderheart. What did you say? I just rated an A because I was like 5 when you haven't seen it since you were 5. What the heck? That's a nice rating considering you hadn't seen it in a long time. Yes, good night, Katie. Thank you so much again. We appreciate you so much. Well, let me see here. I think is there anything else you would like to cover?
I think I got it all. I got it all out in my notes, and I'm pretty excited about it. And I think that we did a fairly decent job tonight. And I'm really, really impressed with the comments tonight, and just the way that the whole chat interacted. You guys turned this into such an intelligent and wonderful conversation. You guys did that, not us.
You guys were amazing, Mother. Mark with a C, Scotty. I like, that. Thank you, man. Because I need to write the quotes down from now on because I always think I can remember them, and then when I'm on a stream, I forget them. Mr. Spock. you said a while ago that there were always alternatives. Spock, did I? I may have been mistaken, Bones. Well, at least I lived long enough to hear that. Yes, indeed. I brought Chris Persia. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate.
Thank you for
we appreciate
stopping in,
all of you.
Chris.
Absolutely, we
You're
appreciate it all.
leaving, hey? Chris, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. And I can't tell on my end because I'm just a guest here, but if you were wrenching, thank you for all your hard work tonight. I really appreciate you. And thank you for adding all of your comments and for just, taking the time to come and hang out with us.
Oh, we appreciate you, man, Chris. I think I wrenched him. I can't remember. I think did I? Man, if I didn't give him a wrench, what the hell's wrong with me?
And I don't know. I just know Chris. Do I know Chris from Doomcock? I think I know Chris from Doomcock.
Persia?
Doesn't Chris wrench for Doomcock?
He's the master wrench for all the big ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Gary
that's where I
and
know
all those
Chris.
guys. Yeah,
Pretty sure that's where I know Chris from.
He's been there. Yeah, Chris Persia is one of the masters of the wrenches.
Yeah.
Where you at, Chris? I thought I'd given you a wrench there, brother. It's just the chat in my YouTube window is really ridiculous and slow.
It's okay. All right. So before everybody starts saying goodnight, I would just like to let you know that remember, we're doing production order. Next Saturday, we're going to be talking about court martial. Okay. Then we're going to be covering Menagerie 1 and 2. And then we're going to be covering Shore Leave. Okay, so those are the next 4 episodes. We're going to use the block text, but just as per usual, we're going to just use that as a launching off point, the same as we did tonight, and we will infill stuff from Mike and from me and from all of you.
Oh well, there's none on Doomcocks, but he is on there on a lot of the other ones.
Okay, I know
Chris
from. I know Chris from somewhere. I don't know where I know you from, Chris, but I know you.
Oh, you've seen him all over the place, I'm sure. Probably.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dee Myers. Well, I guess now I hope I don't leave anybody out because I just have a garbage memory. But we're going to start thanking all of our wonderful friends who were here with us tonight. We've had such a great crowd. I really appreciate you all. Of course, the magnificent. Ace Cast Iron, my friend, wherever you are out there, buddy, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Dude, I miss you, man. I hope you're doing great. My great old buddy, Mark with a C, was here with us tonight.
Yes.
My sometimes partner in crime. And we haven't done a show in a long time, Mark with a C. What's wrong with you, man? Where you at? Let's do one. I know it's my fault, but I'm blaming you anyway. No, dude, we need to do something. Comics oriented. I mean, I know you're busy. I know you're a busy man. But if you let me know what time, I know we got to do our Thor review. I'll review it soon. But in the meantime, if you've got something else you'd like to come hang about, just you got to let me know, brother. Mark with a C also. Thank you, Mark with a C, for all your help and all your participation. I truly appreciate it. I want to thank the great Steve Mitchum. Hey, bud. Dude, I always appreciate you being here, my friend.
Great comments tonight, Steve. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, buddy. Arian Feliciano and Sandra Feliciano.
Oh, you guys already know how much I love you. Thank you so much for your company tonight. You guys are such great friends to us in real life. You guys are just... you guys are such great Trekkies and such great people. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Friday night for Friday Night Frolics, and I hope I'll see you back here on Saturday next week.
I really appreciate you, Felicianos. Thank you so much. The great wrench, Eric K.
Eric, I love you. You work
buddy.
so hard for us, and you're always so helpful, and you are the guardian and the shepherd of this community. You always make everyone feel so welcome, and you're so helpful to the production of this show whenever we need information or anybody needs help or a fact, and you take care of business, and we really appreciate you, Eric.
Indeed we do, bro. Thank you so much. Dee Myers, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, Dee.
Hey, buddy. That name, I love it. I appreciate you for being here, my friend. And Scuba Pete, thank you.
Parrot Head.
Parrot Head was here early, Parrot Head.
Rod Thunderheart.
The great Rod Thunderheart. Thank you, sir. Scuba Pete, thank you for being here. The wonderful, beautiful, and magnificent Katie Carr, thank you for being here.
Katie was here. Anyone else that we're forgetting?
Steve, my buddy.
Oh, yeah, of course. These are the Steves I know. These are the Steves I know.
Yeah, they got some Stevers. We got a lot of Steven. We had a lot of Steven going on.
We
tonight.
have the steviest Steves out of all the Stevers.
A whole lot of Steven going on. Let's see here. Let me try to see if I can think of anybody else who was here. Oh, I think my buddy Lord Thoth did pop in at the beginning.
Oh,
so just
Roman 1701 was also here. We'd like to thank him as well. I'm getting this from Mr. Feliciano because he's a pro at this. He's just schooling us right now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yep, Roman 1701. I appreciated him being here. Lord Thoth, my great friend, had popped in earlier at the beginning. I think he had to go. It was pretty late for him. He was fantastic.
The League of Extraordinary Steves. Yes. I love you, Steve Mitchum. That's great. It's also one of my favorite movies that people hate, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because of course it has one of my heroes in it, Captain Nemo.
I like the Captain Nemo stuff in that movie. That movie takes a lot of, the comic I actually have some problems with more than I did the movie. But people really hate that movie except for me. I like the Nemo stuff in it.
I've never seen the comics, but I will tell you this, that Captain Nemo is a Punjabi hero for me. To see him in his dastar and to know that he is so incredibly brilliant. And I love Jules Verne, and just, Captain Nemo is the bomb. He is so awesome. Just one of the best characters ever created. He's right up there with me for the Man from La Mancha. He is right up there with Don Quixote for me. So just absolutely love Captain Nemo.
I thought the Nautilus looked really good in that movie, and I really liked his car.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't it awesome?
I thought it looked good. A lot of people hate that. Hate that movie.
Why? I don't understand.
Pretty cool in it. I don't know. I never really thought it was that bad. I don't know. I don't get it.
I probably watched it 300 times, and I'm not even kidding.
It's truly and again, the comics people who despise it, I'm like, look, that comic, I'm sorry. I love Alan Moore, but that's not his greatest work. Come on.
I've never seen it.
It's you're better off. That's
also one of the reasons why I absolutely love Star Trek too, is being able to see Sikhs. I just absolutely love seeing Sikhs visible, because of course I love Gurbani. I believe Gurbani is one of the most beautiful things, and so it's just absolutely sensational. And yes, Captain Nemo, highly recommend.
Just Joe 47 was here also. I just remembered the great Jobber. I want to thank him, Bay Buddy. I'm sorry, I almost forgot there. I forget. He knows me now. Alpha Omega. That's right.
Yeah, Alpha Omega was here.
Thank you, Alpha Omega, for being here.
We could never forget you. You're the beginning and the end. But you need to make sure that you're here at the beginning and that you have the first comment and then you have the last comment. Then you are truly Alpha and Omega.
Indeed. Absolutely, that works.
Oh, your friend was also here. The Zathras.
Zathras was here. Yes, Zathras was here.
Yeah.
Then we may, but with your help, we may have actually gotten everyone who was here that showed themselves. Of course, I don't know, but I hope we did.
Well, each and every one of you is incredibly important to this show, because you as individuals create this community, you create this celebration, and when we come here to celebrate Star Trek, you help us to do that just by being here, bringing your minds and your hearts and your knowledge here, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming tonight, you guys. It's a great honor to do this show with you guys.
Indeed it is. And if anyone else who is out there lurking, hey, that's cool. I lurk. And if you're lurking and you listened, and I want to thank you. I cannot thank you enough for popping here. I really do appreciate it. So let's see here. Monday night, I will be. I'm going to see if I can either get Loki or Purple or whatever. I might do the show a little earlier to help Purple not have to be up so late. But I'm going to try to get one or both, or we'll see. I'll talk to him to talk about WandaVision. So Monday night, WandaVision review of episode 3. Wednesday night, some kind of open geek talk coming up soon. In addition, of course, to our Saturday night Star Treks. In the works soon. We're going to review. Mark C and I hope to review some comics, but I got some other comic stuff in the furnace there. Also, Starlog magazine. A look back very soon, because I love Starlog. We're going to look back at the only great source of information for science fiction and film and media and stuff like that when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. I miss Starlog. So until then, my good friends, we're going to sign off. We're just go ahead and sign off. We don't have to do anything fancy, but I want to thank everyone. And oh, yes, Tuesday night, as always, I'll be on with the great Stone Loki on this channel with the panel. On this panel with the channel. With the
Peace and long life.
Yes. Live long and prosper, my good friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And oh, yes, thank you. Good night, everyone.